Welcome back to the Dynasty Rookie YouTube channel, everybody. I'm your host, Michael Bauer, the best in the business, back in business. We are recapping day 2 of the NFL draft. I've been trying to tell everybody for years, and now the NFL is telling you that tight ends matter. We're going to get into that in just a little bit. You can laugh all you want, but it's true, Bob. We're going to be talking about your dude pretty soon, a little bit. Green Bay Packers making money moves, as they call it. But today, I am joined by my faithful co-hosts. We got Nate Christian, Bob Van Duzer, Phil Porkman Simmons making his triumphant return to Dynasty YouTube channel. Sean, knock it off. People can hear that. And we got the ball dome of Dynasty, Zack Duarte. Gentlemen, how are we feeling? First of all, how are we doing this morning? The lights and mics are on in Nottingham, Maryland. But how are we doing, everybody? Nate, how you doing?
Man, I think we need a moment of silence because this running back class, what happened? What happened?
R.I.P.
I mean, my heart was broken last night multiple times with this running back class. Now the tight ends, we're super happy with that. But the running backs, this was supposed to be like the running back class.
It was supposed to be. But, you know, the GMs, they're telling you how it's really going to be. We might look at these guys as thinking that they're top tier guys, but majority of the time it's going to be big three. They're not going to pay these guys a lot of money, and it's showing now. There's going to be a lot of undrafteds. That's our people. That's our people, Nate. So we'll see how they go.
But the thing is, and myself especially, and all of us, we always say that as fantasy analysts and players, we can't shoehorn these guys onto teams. You have to let the NFL dictate to you how you build your fantasy roster, and that's more important today now than ever. Zach, you haven't chimed in yet, which is funny because you talk all the time. How are you today?
I'm great. Listen, we got a full house, so we can't talk over each other. You know, we got to make sure everybody has the equal opportunity to share the mic. So you're talking over me right now. So, but listen, we did discuss yesterday how great of a first round it was, and then the Seattle Seahawks. And everything just went. It was like a stock. It was just up, and then straight down the rest of the day. It was awful. It was awful.
It was. But I would just want to make one comment, too. If you are selected to go up and announce your team's draft pick,
Announce it.
in a timely manner. So, in that vein, shout out to my wife and daughter at home. Bob said I couldn't do that, but you know I'm uncontrollable, like a snake. So let's get into it. Sean, do we have any comments that we want to go through first before we get into anything?
Yes.
You admitted that there were a lot of comments.
That's a yes. There we go.
All right, so, camera.
I think Nate, you had some sleeper data.
I did.
Yeah.
I wish I had it up right
Let's read it here.
We'll get to that.
So Braden is saying, please tell me what the back end of the first round is going to look like in Superflex rookie drafts. Yes, Nate, you were researching this before the show started.
Yeah. So right now, based on how some sleeper ADP is looking just from like last night, back half of the first, it looks like you're going to pick up Quentin Johnson, Zay Flowers, Jordan Addison, but also Dalton Kincaid, Will Levis is there. And then it gets into that second tier running backs, which we're going to start talking about with Zach Charbonnet, Kendra Miller, and Devon A. Chain. So that's kind of what's going to be probably around at the back half of the first. So different positions. You can still pick up a quarterback at the back end of the first. And I don't know if we were looking at that before because we didn't know where the landing spots were going to be. We didn't know if they had 3, 4 quarterbacks in the first round.
Right.
Not quite the first round, but Will Levis sticking around a little bit.
True.
Yeah. Do you want me to continue?
I got nothing to add.
You got nothing to add.
Well, we did say yesterday that Will Levis was like a certified second rounder now in Superflex. Do we still feel that way with where he landed?
No. I think because I know it's neither here nor there that the Titans were trying to trade him in the first round to get Will Levis. They still picked him in the second round, so it's not the first round draft capital. But it was the 33rd overall pick. He's not going to be the franchise quarterback from the moment he gets drafted because of that, but he still has the opportunity to have that role. So I think Will Levis, he fits that scheme well. Play action, run heavy. He can develop in that scheme. They can sit him for a little bit while Ryan Tannehill's still there. I don't think he's moved up too much for me, but I don't mind picking him at the very end of the first if you need a quarterback.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I feel like, he's not a first rounder. He doesn't get that extra year in his contract, but he is in line to be the quarterback probably in 2024.
Yeah.
And I don't think that the Tennessee Titans would make this move with wanting to draft a quarterback in 2024. I can't say that for certain. We don't know how the season's going to go. If they finish top 10, that changes everything.
Right.
But I just if they keep Derrick Henry, maybe if Treylon Burks stays healthy, I don't see them as a bottom 10 team. That's all.
Perfect. Sean, let's get another one up there for us, please. All right, Jason is saying, what's Dynasty Everyone's opinion on wide receivers that get top 40 draft capital? Mingo, She Rice, Jaden Reed, Packers, and ones that don't, like Downs and Hyatt. Bob, I want to start with you on this one because your heart was happy and then broken at the same time last night.
Yeah, well, I think it comes down to if that wide receiver is good or not, and Josh Downs is and Jalen Hyatt is not.
Shots fired.
So I'm in a shots fired kind of mood today. So there's not going to be a lot of holding back on things. But I love Mingo. I'm not the Rice. You have to respect to a degree because it is the Chiefs. But again, it's going to be a player that goes before I'm willing to draft him, just because he went to the Chiefs. Because I don't believe in the prospect. I don't believe in the player. Then you have Jaden Reed, who I loved as a prospect, went to my Green Bay Packers before they just decided to light this draft on fire for themselves. So beautifully and throw away a well-planned draft that they were crafting and then decided to just rip it up.
Bob, do you want to just take a minute and talk about this?
No, I don't.
I feel like you do because you're
we're going to have to. You're kind of talking around it.
Can we also just say every time that somebody would announce a Green Bay pick, they were like, "Oh, we're gonna get Jordan Love some help," and all of us are like, "Oh,
no!"
I can't wait until day 3. They say we're gonna get Jordan Love some help. That's a defensive player, and then the guys backstage are like, "Well, if the defense gets the other team's offensive player,
It's all about Jordan Love. That's all I know.
Yeah. With all the help we're giving him, I'm getting kind of concerned how much we need to give him. Apparently.
But my thing is this, and I really hate when teams do this. We'll take Aaron Rodgers, for example, begging. His runoff is, get me help, get me help, get me help. And they're like, well, that guy was a 5th-round pick. You're Aaron Rodgers. You're good to go. Now a new quarterback comes in, and it's like, we're going to give him everything he needs. But you don't want to do that with a 4-time MVP. Do better, Green Bay.
Yeah.
That's why I don't really care what people say. Andy is saying, who's the running backs 3 through 5 after the draft for you guys? And just want to remind everybody, if you want your questions guaranteed answered, go hit up the super chat. That is the best way to guarantee we answer your questions. We're going to be going over everything today. But primarily question focused. So again, who are the running backs 3 to 5 after the draft for you guys? Yeah, we're going to start with you.
Yeah, for me, I haven't decided on my actual ranking yet. I have this tier here. I still have Tank Bigsby in my top 5. I have Devon A-Chain in my top 5 because of the scheme fit. I'm not the biggest A-Chain fan, but the Miami Dolphins was the dream landing spot for him.
It was.
So I have to respect that. I said that if he went there, I would have to consider him. And then also Kendre Miller. I think that's a great landing spot with the Saints. Kamara's going to be on his way out. He might not even play the beginning of the season. So I think Kendre Miller fits that team. He's a versatile back. He can play all 3 downs. I like his potential to take on a workhorse role with the Saints. So those 3 guys are my 3 through 5.
So no Zack Charbonnet.
Yeah.
No Zack Charbonnet. Charbonnet is not in my top 5 anymore. I just can't do it unless something changes with that situation.
I do want to say with the New Orleans Saints pick too, they've always been a team, going back to the Sean Payton era and that. They want Kamara with someone. Okay? And be it Mark Ingram, Latavius Murray, or whoever else that they're just kind of rolling through. So the Kendre Miller pick, and again, you have to just realize that these guys aren't going to be smash players from day one. You have to be patient with rookies. So since Sean decided to stand up for some unknown reason, do you have another question for us, Sean? All right, so Tyler wants to know, what do we do with Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker III? Well, Bob is just, and look, I hated the pick. We were saying, Bob, I'll get back to you in just a second. We were saying that so far, this draft had been really fantasy football friendly. And then the Seahawks were like, say less. We got you fantasy players. We're going to screw it up for you. I hate this. And I don't have many Kenneth Walker shares, so it doesn't concern me too much. But I was super high on Zach Charbonnet. But Bob, go ahead. Tell me what you think.
I think this is a great indicator of what the NFL is going towards. And we've been saying this for a while with this running back. With this running back class, it was going to happen. The timeshare is here. The timeshare era is upon us. And whether you like it or not, both these running backs at some point are going to be very valuable. They're going to cannibalize each other a little bit. But the fact of the matter is, if you got one, if you have Kenneth Walker already, Charbonnet should be on your board 1,000%, and maybe drafting him a little early because this will be a good backfield. This will be a productive backfield. I think your hopes of Kenneth Walker being a top 5 guy over the next couple of years is on a steady basis is probably out the window. But I think both these guys can perform top 16 running back numbers fairly consistently. And I think just on the running back class as a whole, I think, we want to panic because we thought this class was so damn good. But you have to look at the running back market in the NFL right now, and it's so saturated. We need to kind of wait and or hope for running backs' talent to just wane away. We got a lot of guys that came in a few years ago that are finally getting older and aging out eventually, but it just hasn't happened yet. Derrick Henry's a prime example. We were kind of waiting for the wheels to fall off for him. Now we get kind of waiting on like Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, that class. And it just hasn't happened yet. These guys are remaining viable. And I think we really have to look at last year's class with Dameon Pierce, Isaiah Pacheco, and I think that's all I really have for that example. But, the later round drafted running backs are going to be a thing.
Algier too.
Algier. And I think you have to, ride the wave when it's there. I think they're great picks if you're a team that's actually somewhat competing to draft those later round running backs that have good landing spots with possible future opportunity. And then you play it smart with them and you trade them away to somebody who believes they're going to be a long-term asset. I think you play redraft with those later round drafted running backs. And then anybody who has significant draft capital like Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs, you pay the farm for.
Yeah.
End of the day, anybody who has significant draft capital locked into a role, you say F it and you go pay up, you get that running back. Don't worry about the depth. Pick that up later in drafts with running backs that have some opportunity. They will have opportunity, and just go from there. And I think that's how we need to attack running back going forward. And just, any dreams we had of long-lasting running backs that probably shouldn't have been there to begin with, just gone, unless there's significant draft capital. I think that's how we have to look at running back.
I think the thing that we are not talking about with Zach Charbonnet is what does it do to JSN's value? Because he's a wide receiver 3 right now. We're expecting that Tyler Lockett will get phased out. And now we're adding another weapon in that offense that they drafted top 50. That's not there to be a backup. He's not there to be a backup. So whether or not you realize it, it does take a little bit away from JSN. Maybe it's 5%, maybe it's 10%, but that matters when JSN is not the first option in that offense.
Yeah.
We also knew that JSN wasn't going to be the first option in the offense for at least a year or so, maybe even more. Also, just getting some feedback from reviewers. A little echoey, so we're just going to make sure that we're talking directly in. Apologize for any echoes. We're doing our best to obviously take care of that during the stream. So, Sean, let's move on to the next one. And this is from Andy. Matthew got to be Polish with that last name, right? So, and that would be this Matthew right here. Thoughts on Kenneth Gainwell in Philly with no running backs drafted in the second and third round? Look, Kenneth Gainwell was a 5th round pick, and he has his role on the team, and it is the third down pass catching back. So his role, I think, stayed the same regardless of who the Eagles brought. I think Pork and I are in agreement.
Yeah, it's going to stay the same. And like Bob just said, we got 4 through 7 today. There's still some good guys left on the board that we can go with. So.
DeAndre Swift.
There's a possibility because we do have some picks that we could, go get a Swift. That's a local guy that they were talking about. They were also talking about possibly trying to get can't think of the other guy's name that they were trying to trade for. But they could still they still could go get another guy. That's a vet that fits perfectly with the team. That don't have to take all the carries on that team. So. We already know it's a committee there, and like Bob was just saying, we don't have these workhorse guys no more. So you kind of have to go with the motion with Dynasty and Fantasy, and that's how it's going.
Like I said before, we always try to pigeonhole these guys, and we fantasize about where they're going to go and where they have the best value. The Philadelphia Eagles, 2 things they don't invest in until this year: running back and linebacker. They finally drafted some good linebackers, got some good guys in there, but they just. Their running back position, they care more about their quarterback and their wide receivers and their tight ends. In the trenches, that is how that team is built. So Kenneth Gainwell, I think right now his role is safe. Personally, buy low if you can, but Kenneth Gainwell truthers are on it. So Sean, you are smirking. How do we feel about Brenton Strange? Barely heard his name before last night. Swish. This is Noah. He's one of our awesome contributors at the Dynasty Rewind. So we want to talk to him. Patreon.com/Dynasty Rewind. And how do I feel about Brenton Strange as a Penn State fan?
Strange.
hate it. It is very strange. I did not project him as a second round pick. I like the Schoonmaker pick. In Pennsylvania, it would be pronounced Schumacher. That's why I say it like that. So my apologies. I don't like the pick. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I think there are better tight ends on the board that the Jacksonville Jaguars could have selected. Brenton Strange is kind of mid. But we can't ignore the second round draft capital.
He's a move tight end.
Yeah.
So, Ingram's going to be that slot guy. He's going to be Brenton Strange is going to be the guy that gets moved around in the backfield, lines at the fullback sometimes. He's gotten a couple rushes with Penn State. He's going to be moved all over the field. I don't think he's going to be super fancy relevant. He's going to be a better NFL player than a fantasy player. He's going to be one of those guys that will be on the field a lot, but I don't think he's going to get much volume, especially because Ingram is in front of them. And I think they want to extend Ingram after his production.
Right. No, for sure.
I agree.
They basically drafted a 6th offensive lineman.
Yeah, that's all he is.
Yeah, true. All right, Sean, let us move on. Any tight ends after Kincaid and Mayer you were targeting? Bob might be targeting. Musgrave. Fantastic landing spot.
Sam Laporta, absolutely going at 34 overall to the Lions. I mean, he was the second tight end off the board.
Yeah.
Sam Laporta should be moving up everyone's ranks. He should have already been in your top 5. But now I think you have to consider Sam Laporta in your top 3.
Yeah, for sure.
I
Certainly.
think he
In that offense.
probably top 3 because I think he's end of day top 2 target in that offense, and that's with JMO included. I went through that year.
Yeah, I mean, we have
JMO,
six games without Jameson Williams, so you have those 6 games where he gets to work with Jared Goff and quarterback 0 Hendon Hooker, who went off the board in the 3rd round. Now, Zach, how do you feel about Hendon Hooker to Detroit? You were a Hendon Hooker stan.
No, I was a Hendon Hooker at the value in the Superflex drafts and stan. I think it's an interesting fit, right? It gives them an opportunity to see him for a year, let him get healthy, let him develop in that offense. Jared Goff next year, they have an out of that contract. I think it's a $5 million out. If not, it's a $31 million contract. Hendon Hooker's, I think, going to be paid $1 million next year. So I'm not saying that he's the quarterback of the future, but there's that possibility. We've seen this happen plenty of times where a guy gets drafted in the 3rd round and he gets the opportunity next year. So I can very much see that happening.
So he could be like the next Matt Corral, Malik Willis, something of that.
He could absolutely be one of those guys too. He absolutely
So
could be the next Dak Prescott as well. He could be the quarterback that takes over in a year.
a huge range of outcomes here.
Dak Prescott.
Rain was drafted in the 4th round. Zach.
Doesn't matter. He was a round 2 or round 3 pick or whatever it was. So.
I want you to look something up for me, Nate. Who's older, Hendon Hooker or Jared Goff? Because I feel like it might be actually closer than you think.
I think Jared Goff's 28 or 29.
Yeah, Jared Goff is 28 and Hendon Hooker's 25.
Yeah. Yep. So not as close as you think.
Give me Jared Goff.
That's
3 years.
pretty close.
Yeah. And $30 million. That's a big difference.
You know what? This is one of those circumstances run lines. I'm just going to pay for Jared.
I'll take the guy who's good in the NFL already and didn't need a Mickey Mouse college offense.
See, you guys are running with this in a direction I'm not running. I said it's an opportunity for them to see him develop in the next year and make a decision if they want to get out of that contract for $5 million and pay another quarterback $1 million.
What you're saying now is in one direction. Other things you've said previously are other directions.
What have I said previously?
That he's better than Jared Goff.
I never said he's better than Jared Goff. Find me the statement where I said he's better than Jared Goff.
Zach here. I don't believe Zach ever said
I've never said that. I said he's $30 million cheaper than Jared Goff.
And can do what Jared Goff does.
He might be able to.
We don't know that.
We don't know that, but he might be able
They
to.
can both play quarterback.
That's my surprise.
And
Tell me that doesn't exist. That can't exist.
Let's move on, Sean, shall we? GP says, have Kenneth Walker in picks 4 through 6, was planning on taking charge of one of those picks. Should I still? One quarterback.
No.
No.
you're looking at a wide receiver there, I think.
For sure.
I think you're looking at one of Zay, Quentin Johnston.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy because we talked about for the last 4 months, past year, actually, about how good this running back class was. And I still think this is a very talented running back class, but for fantasy purposes, this is not the running back class that we were hoping for. This is not the savior running back class for you to turn your rebuild around and now fill up your running back room. Unless you can get Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs, you're picking up guys who aren't going to have that consistent volume week to week. But vice versa, this wide receiver class that we were talking about as one that's going to disappoint has done quite the opposite. And I think there's been plenty of wide receivers off the board round 1, day 2. We're deep at wide receiver now.
Yeah, when it comes to draft capital, I believe so.
Yeah.
When it comes to some of the talent, what they're doing, their profile, we'll see how that goes when they fit in that offense. Like when it comes to JSN, I feel like that's a perfect example of what they're going to do. They're putting people around Lamar Jackson to give them Zay Flowers.
Yep.
They give them guys like that. But those lower tier guys that are going in day 2, other than Jaden Reed, I love that pick, Jaden Reed. I need to see how they're fitting in that offense and see how their route running is going with them. Because with this wide receiver class, I kind of understood what we were saying with the talent where we were low on them. Yes, they're getting the draft capital, but are they going to be actually good enough when they get into that offense with that route running and getting open? That's what I'm waiting to see.
Yeah.
All right, Sean, let's move on to another one. This is from one of our patrons, and this is Cole. Are you guys concerned about Tajay's medical concerns? I'm not. Park only has one ACL, and he's doing great. Sounds like he could be in for a Todd Gurley type career path, except with much less talent. Obviously, I mean, he was a 3rd-round draft pick, and Gurley was a 1st-round draft pick.
Yeah.
So,
Top 10.
I mean, look, they're saying that he might be a one-contract running back, and if depending on where you get him in your draft, probably okay with that, right?
I think you should treat every running back as a contract running back.
Other than Bijan.
Other than 1st-round pick drafted running backs, everybody is one contract. You plan for 1 to 2 years tops.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I don't think we try to project anything with running backs right now until this talent pool is depleted.
Mm-hmm.
I will say I don't think the running back story is written yet with this class. We have a whole nother day to draft with.
Yep.
We saw players from day 3 produced last year that are still being betted on at this point. Kansas City had a chance. Houston had a chance to replace their day 3 running backs.
Mm-hmm.
They did not.
They might do it in day 3 this year.
They could do it in day 3, but that's not an immediate upgrade at that point. You know, now competition committee added additions. You know, I think running back is going to get very interesting over the next couple of years. Like I said, the timeshare is upon us, and I think the teams that do it well and can run efficient offenses are going to be fruitful backfields to have, even though there's going to be 2 running backs getting run in that backfield.
I have a question. Who wrote Tucker Kraft on my notebook here? That's not my handwriting. I did put hearts next to
that would be the Fantasy Gazette.
The Fantasy Gazette in the house, living in his van down by the river, which is very Fantasy Gazette-esque. So, Sean, let's roll on to the next one, please. This is from James. What are your general thoughts on what to do with the 107 at this point? Thanks, guys. I mean, this one is dependent on if it's a
I would assume this is a Superflex question.
Right.
Picking a wide receiver.
Okay, well, let's do both. Superflex or one quarterback.
I think either way, I'm probably picking a wide receiver.
At this point, yeah. I mean, all of a sudden, I'm way more interested in guys. I mean, Nate, I know you and I, we talk about it a lot. We're big Jaden Reed fans.
Mm-hmm.
I'm way more interested in Zay Flowers now.
Yeah.
Than I ever was. And I like the talent, but he's definitely going to move up my boards.
Yeah.
I mean, I think for me at the 107 in a Superflex league, you know, the top running backs, the top quarterbacks off the board, JSN's off the board.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at either Zay Flowers or Jordan Addison at that point. I'm trying to get one of the top wide receivers left on the board. I think Zay Flowers and Jordan Addison kind of fit into that tier for me of the next best wide receivers after JSN with these landing spots. So those are the guys I'm going after because I don't feel good about reaching for any of these running backs at the 107. If I'm looking to draft running back, I'm trying to move back to the 111, 112, 201 because I think that turn is where we're going to see those running backs like Kendrick Miller, Devon Achane go.
And if Jaden Reed is climbing your board, then Jonathan Mingo has to be climbing your board.
Oh, absolutely.
You've been there.
For sure.
Yeah. Oh, I'm big Jonathan Mingo fan.
We all graded him.
Yeah.
I mean, we were saying get weapons for Bryce Young, and all of a sudden, Bryce Young, you got Jonathan Mingo there, you got Miles Sanders in the backfield.
Mm-hmm.
That offense is looking pretty good right now.
Getting better.
You know, Adam Thielen. I still like Adam Thielen.
DJ Chark.
Yeah,
DJ Chark has some potential.
Those are short-term options, which I like for Bryce Young, but I like the fact that Jonathan Mingo is going to get to grow with Bryce Young. I really like that for him.
Yeah, there's not a ton of long-term talent around Bryce Young yet, but they have good talent right now, which is important for his development. And then as he gets better,
Yeah,
they
very
start
weak
bringing younger
division.
players in.
In a very weak division, might I add.
Yeah.
Very weak.
For sure. All right, Sean, let's go to the next one. And this is from Sir Spook, and this is 12-team Superflex Start 11, including 3 running backs, Walker ETN, only running backs of note. Man, I'll tell you what. Yesterday at this
That was a
time,
rough day for you.
yesterday at this time, that looked really good.
Very good.
Got Fields, Kyler, Love, Waddle, Pickens, Burks at wide receiver. Have the 103, 104, and 202. Do I worry about quarterback? Go after Gibbs and wide receiver. Can't trade. Sounds like every league I'm in. Seriously, like, oh, this is a good trade. Not doing it. Smash reject.
I mean, we're actually pretty good at quarterback.
Yeah, so
But obviously, at the 1 and 3, 1 and 4, we can't pass up on quarterback, so we have to trade out.
right.
I mean, we want.
you can't trade. That's the problem.
Can't trade in the draft or can't trade in general. Either way, I'm taking a quarterback. I'm taking
Yeah,
a quarterback because you got to value. I think 104 you can look at Gibbs.
Yeah,
I think that's fine.
I think that's
202, probably looking at possibly that early second round running back that went day 2 or wide receiver. There's going to be somebody there that's worth grabbing that makes sense for wide receiver or running back there too.
For sure.
Yeah, and then after you pick up that quarterback, you can always move Love or Murray or somebody
if they want to trade.
if you can trade.
All right, so Cameron with the super chat question. So with how things have gone in the draft in a 10-team Superflex, are you packaging the 108 with 2 to 3 of the 2-2, 2-3, and 2-6 to get into the top 6?
I don't know that you need to do 3 of them, but I think you will probably need to do 2 of them. And I'm all about it. The 106, 107 break right now is
A big gap.
gross.
Yeah.
Because if you can get
yes.
JSN or Gibbs or a falling quarterback at that point, being that it is a 10-team, quarterbacks might be a little less valued. I think you do it, especially at that cost. Fine, I'm all about it.
Just lock in the talent.
Yeah. I think you start with one of those. You start with the 206. You add on the 203, and then
I wouldn't give all 3 away.
I wouldn't give
Just
all
keep
3. Maybe flip to where you're doing the 202 and the 206 to whatever you got to do for value there to keep that one of those early seconds. It would be a goal.
One of those options has to be JSN or Gibbs at that point if you're moving up to the 106.
Yeah, or falling quarterback.
Falling
quarterback.
Or it says top 6, so if you can go a little bit higher than 106, maybe go to 105, 104.
I say start at 4, work your way down to 5, work
Yeah.
your way through that pick without moving all 3 of them. You might have to move all 3 if you're trying to get to like 103 or 104,
But at that point,
at that point, it's if you have a shot at a quarterback, then it's worth it.
Sean, so Derek wants to know, is Kenny Walker a possible buy low considering how hard he is falling and that Charb hasn't touched an NFL? Listen, I mean, depending on how low that buy low is.
I don't know what buy low is right now.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I mean, if it's a single mid first round pick,
That's not.
I probably wouldn't do 106. I'd probably do like 107, 108. If you can get away with something like that, which I don't think you can. But I don't think there's a buy low window actually here. He's accessible, but where you're not going to have to pay like 3 first or anything stupid for him. But there's no real buying low.
It's the same as saying Javonte Williams is a buy low after he got hurt because people were still in on him. And, in situations like this, what I do is I seek a Seahawks fan and say, is there something we don't know about Kenneth Walker? Is there off the field? Is there an injury concern that maybe the rest of the country didn't know about?
Right.
That's what I try to do. Try to get some insider.
That's what I'm getting at. Because Kenneth Walker is a great running back. And
I
I feel as though we're overdoing it, like getting scared about Zack Charbonnet. If we're putting both of them 2 together, I'm taking Kenneth Walker 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
And that's the part I'm trying to figure out. Don't be scared about Kenneth Walker at all with Zack Charbonnet. I'm not the biggest fan of Charbonnet myself, but when it comes to Kenneth Walker is that dude. So when he's getting the ball, it's probably going to motivate him even more to be a dog during the season.
There it is. He's got that dog. He is that dude.
He's that dude. He's gonna don't be scared of Charbonnet at this point.
We talked about how in the past we've seen like that thunder lightning, and we can get that with Kenneth Walker and Zack Charbonnet. But the problem is that they just invested in the passing game with JSN with the first round pick. And you can't throw the ball 60% of the time and run the ball 60% of the time.
And neither of them are like an elite pass catcher. Like what's kind of sad is like Zack Charbonnet has the better pass catching profile than Kenneth Walker does. And Zack Charbonnet, in my opinion, is not like a plus pass catcher. He's not a liability or anything like that. Mm-hmm. It's just an odd tandem. Like I was saying with Zack Charbonnet before the travesty happened last night, that he's a better AJ Dillon.
I'm sorry, can you reference that, Travis?
That was my comp.
The Seahawks drafting.
Oh, I thought you meant the Tucker Craft draft.
No.
That's my comp for Charbonnet.
Zack Charbonnet is a better AJ Dillon. And I think Kenneth Walker's running style is somewhat similar to Aaron Jones. But Neither of them has the actual pass catching chops.
Yeah.
I'll say AJ Dillon's is underrated, but it's just an odd tandem to have. Well, and Pete Carroll, Zach Charbonnet is going to open up the screen game. And I don't know if he's a patio renovator or something like that, where he's going to be opening a screen to do his back patio or what.
I feel like there would have been better options for that.
I'm going to say this. What this draft through
Like a
2 days,
contractor.
what this draft through 2 days is showing me, again, that the NFL is showing us tight ends matter. That I'm not going to take a handcuff to a running back in early round 2. And that I should build my teams around wide receivers because they have the longevity.
We need to talk. We need to talk about tight ends.
Yes, we
Did you guys
do.
see Bob say that?
We need to talk about tight ends
I have
because
been pounding this drum for years, and Bob's like, "We don't need tight ends." No,
we
tight
need
ends."
to talk about tight ends because this influx of talent. Because we can all agree that this tight end class is very good.
Yes.
That the top 12 tight ends might actually matter in Dynasty going forward.
Yeah.
I still think it's going to be that very heavy top tier of guys that are just, you could plug them in as a wide receiver or a flex and it's whatever.
Right.
But the top 12 tight ends are going to be more valuable than they've ever been. But because the talent's probably, I mean, not to this level, but the tight end landscape is going to change. We had, I think, 9 tight ends off the board so far. And I know that not all of them are any good, especially when one team drafts 2 of them. I know one of those is a bag of trash, but
I heard he's pretty athletic.
I've heard he's also not good at anything else. So
I think the tight end
Interesting.
landscape and the running back landscape have switched.
Right.
Where now with running backs, if you don't have one of those top 5 guys, why reach?
yeah.
With tight end, you have some depth through 15 maybe.
Yeah,
top
but there's
15.
of worthwhile.
Yeah,
a better second tier of tight ends. 'Cause
Yes,
you have
better second tier. You still that top 5.
Yeah, because obviously the top 5, but then after you get the top 5, you just throwing out a bag of tight ends, putting a body in and tight end, hoping to get some points. Now that top 12, like you said, is really going to matter.
Yeah.
And I'm loving that for right now.
So what you're telling me is, with tight end, the landscape changing, is that I'm a visionary.
You're a visionary,
That's
Mike.
all I'm hearing.
You're a visionary.
Sean, you're my producer. You don't shake your head
A
no.
visionary, no
Let's
less.
go to the next question. Okay, so
Yep.
Blake,
Yes.
Yeah.
what about
Yes.
getting paid at the 107
Yes.
and the 2
That's
tight
the
end
answer.
Superflex tight end
Yes,
premium?
yes, yes.
I love it. That's my camera angle. Get out of there. Yes, I do not hate it at all. And there's going to be other guys drafted today and later on yesterday. I mean, look at who we had late in round 3. Some guys like Cameron Latu, who I was somewhat high on. I think Darnell Washington projects to be the same as he was in Pittsburgh, in Georgia, kind of that backup blocking type tight end. So I'm not going to invest too much in a guy like Darnell Washington. Yeah, that's pretty much it for round 3. But yeah, very good. And I love that right there. So this is Darth Desmond. And Bob, that little logo there.
Channel.
Thank you for your membership. We appreciate you, Darth Desmond. Love that screen name too. Hey guys, quarterback room is Dak, Trevor Lawrence, and Kenny Pickett.
Nice.
What should I do with my 206? Wide receiver room is Garrett Wilson and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Running backs are Javonte and AJ Dillon. Tight end is Evan Ingram. I mean, at 206 is Luke Musgrave there?
Easily.
Or Jaden Reed, something
Jaden
like
Reed,
that. I
I'm going
mean,
with.
I don't know if Jade Reed's there at 206.
but if Luke, for me right
not
now,
in my draft.
if Luke Musgrave is there, that is
No
how
problem.
I'm kind of leaning a little bit. I love that pick.
Musgrave is okay there. I mean, I think Jonathan Mingo
Mhm.
at the 206 is definitely
I like that a lot.
someone you want to look at.
If that draft is really soon, I think it's possible. But I think if that draft is in a month or so, Jonathan Mingo
Might be off the board.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He's definitely gonna be a riser over the next month or 2. I think right now late 2nd, early 3rd is still his ADP, but I think by June it's gonna be early 2nd.
I mean, I look at that
Late
list.
first.
I look at the list of players, and the production I see the least is at running back. So I'm probably looking at running back at 206.
If
I'll
there's
go
one
one
Just-
there.
that's
I don't know what I want at
But
running back at
I
206.
think there will. Well, we don't know who that's going to be, but I think one will be.
Kendrick Miller's there.
I
so
think a
he's
day
not there.
3 one who's probably a reach at this point might be there.
No, but I think that some of these running backs have fallen from where we thought they might go. Like Zach Charbonnet's not going in the 109. I'm not saying he's going to be there at 206.
He might be able to.
And,
Yeah,
and
I don't know.
if he's there at 206, I will take him at 206
Yeah.
because he's not a backup running back.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
hate it.
You have to.
I mean, you already have AJ Dillon.
Look, I think Tajay Spears could be there. Kendrick Miller could be there at 206. He doesn't have a direct path to work right away. Okay, if Alvin Kamara's not suspended, Kendrick Miller's not getting a lot of work this year. So I'm taking a running back probably at 206.
it. So let's go to the next one. And this is a super chat question. I don't know how to say that, but thank you for the super chat. What are you willing to pay for Pitts? The 108 plus what equals Kyle Pitts? Again,
Draft Dalton Kincaid.
Yeah.
Just kidding. That's probably not actually.
I mean,
With the 108, yes.
if you can't look, here's the
Instead
thing:
of trade.
if you can't do 108 plus to get Kyle Pitts, and I don't hate trying to make that move for a
I
premier
think
tight end. I
what-
don't hate drafting Dalton Kincaid.
I think what you have to add to that 108 is more significant than what the value of just drafting Dalton Kincaid would be at 108.
Yeah,
I think that's my only issue with it.
I think you need to add either another mid to late first,
You need a 24 first.
the 24 first, or
I think, at least.
If
or
it's
like
not
a player
another,
somewhere around like 80.
If it's not another first, I'm fine with
if
it.
it's not another first, it has to be volume. A couple of seconds, a
Yeah.
player and seconds. And for me, Dalton Kincaid tied to Josh Allen. I'm just going Kincaid at 108.
So if you earned that 108, like you were a playoff team, you have to ask yourself this question right now: does moving all that draft capital help you?
And you
Does
trade
Kyle
for
Pitts-
TJ.
Just, I was gonna say the same thing. Just trade for TJ Hawkinson.
Trade
Don't
for
worry about
TJ
Kyle Pitts. 108. You
But
can
like
go
I
get
said,
Hawkinson.
the question is, does that help you or hurt you? Because then if you make this move, you don't win the championship next year, you're without your 24 first, which you might need, which that could be a pick of an excellent quarterback. There's going to be some good running backs. That could be a Raheem Sanders pick. So this trade can actually hurt you more than help you in the long run if you don't win it all right now.
Yeah.
I just can't wait for Raheem Sanders to be the backup for
The Seahawks.
Najee Harris.
yeah,
Yeah.
Najee Harris or something like that. It's gonna be great.
To Denver. All right, so let's move on to the next one. The Nathan's Cards and Collectible. Okay. How do we feel about the Giants wide receiver core? Zack, calm down. We're going to get to you in just a second. Now
Yeah,
drafting yet another
don't
speedster. Wandale stock drop with this pick and injury. Zach, I'm going to kick it to you since you are the Isaiah Hodgins stan of the group. What do you think here? They drafted Jalen Hyatt instead of Zay
This
Jones.
is such a complicated situation with the wide receivers there that they brought all of them back, right?
Do you want to
Except for
hear?
Richie
Do you want to
James.
hear all the wide receivers there?
Yes, I would
There's
love that.
7.
Here we
All right.
go.
We got Isaiah Hodgins, Sterling Shepard, Jeff Smith,
Jeff Smith.
Paris Campbell, Darius Slayton, David Stills, Colin Johnson, Wandale Robinson, Jalen Hyatt, Jamison Crowder.
Can I say something here?
No Sterling Shepard.
As an
That's a
Eagles,
Shepard.
Oh, okay.
as an Eagles fan, I love when my division opponents do stupid things.
Yeah.
I just want to throw that out there.
But
But
8 wide receiver threes.
I don't know what to make of the situation.
it's kind
Great
of
guy for Jeff Smith.
I think Wandale is fine.
I do too. I think they're different.
They're different players. So Jalen Hyatt's going to be playing the Z. Wandale is the slot receiver. I guess Hodgins is still going to be playing the X
Until they drafted Xavier Hutchinson.
until they draft Xavier Hutchinson. But Wandale, I think he's still the number one target on that team at wide receiver. I think at this point you're looking at Darren Waller is the number one guy there. That's who I want.
I mean,
No.
to me, what this
for
says
4
is,
games.
I mean, maybe, but I'll get 20-some points.
yeah, but then you got Bellinger for another 4 games. To me, what this says is potentially Wandale Robinson may not be healthy to start the season
No.
Oh,
because they have
sure.
a
That's a
a
realistic
lot of
opportunity.
volume at the wide receiver position on the depth chart. So it's not a situation I love. And I think the good thing for the fantasy community is that Hyatt went in the 3rd round. So you don't have to overdraft him.
Could be
Like
like-
you should be able to get him where he should be appropriately valued in drafts.
So don't overbuy it with Hyatt.
Don't.
Vincent wants to know, full rebuild orphan 12-team Superflex have Burrow, Treylon Burks, and Rashad White have the 102 and 105. I think either Stroud or Richardson will fall to 1 or 5. Should I go 2 quarterbacks and flip one, or JSN/Gibbs?
Just take what's there.
Yeah.
I mean, if
I don't think there's
quarterback.
a flip or to
your core players are Burrow, Burks, and Rashad White's your 3rd best player on your team, just take the quarterbacks.
Yeah, take quarterback.
Take
But
the
here's-
quarterbacks, and you got 2024.
Here's my thing. If you have 102 and you take either JSN or Gibbs, you are forcing a quarterback down to you at 105.
Sure, I don't hate that. That's why we sure. Another reason why having a lot of the draft board is
So if you if you take one of those players at 102, you've now forced 3 quarterbacks at 103, 104, 105 potentially. And if
If
somebody
you're
wants,
happy with all
you
3,
can
you
take
know you want
one.
to get one.
right,
Exactly.
but if you think that I don't know, I take the 2 quarterbacks at this point.
I would as well.
And Vincent, I think the smartest option here to do is go to payhip.com/dynasty. We want to get your team audited now because
It's
we
in the
can go more
description.
in depth than just on this live stream.
Mm-hmm.
Sean, let's kick it to the next one. And this is a super chat. So thank you, the Big Ham. I guess that's the Big Hamburger. Just shortened up a little bit. We had hamburgers last night, courtesy of the Fantasy Gazette, the Nomadic traveling content creator, man down by the river. 102 to 104 and the 06. The 101 is locked. Locked by
Targets.
Sorry, it's a little choppy there. But what are some of your targets here at the 104, the 102 to
Is he
104?
saying the 101 is locked Bryce Young?
Yeah.
Oh, it's locked Bryce Young. Okay.
Oh, you're gonna be on the 102.
Oh,
Congratulations,
listen.
big hamburger.
Wow, man.
Dude,
Big
like,
hand.
All right, so you're picking up Bijan, you're picking up Stroud, you're picking up AR, and then I guess JSN or Gidget 106.
Yeah.
like
pretty easy.
all of a sudden, I'm really, if
There you
I'm
go.
this team, I'm really happy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very happy.
Yeah,
That's
that's
a day, man.
Yeah.
That's
Good.
beautiful.
that's a situation.
that.
Don't
I'm glad I
overthink it.
figured that out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That
Zach.
changed everything for us. It sounds great.
In all fairness, I didn't sleep well because I could swear I could hear pork snoring.
Hey, I was freaking tired,
But
man.
before we continue real quick, we should mention that the super chats, there are going to be a lot of questions today. We do have limited time. We're going to be cutting it off right when the first pick is in
That is true.
for day 3. So super chats are always going to get first priority. Otherwise, there's just too many questions to get to. So that just is what it is. We appreciate the support a lot for super chats and all that. We just want to touch on that real quick for anybody out there that really wants their question answered and wants to support the brand as well. Appreciate that. How you guys for doing that. Just wanted to mention that
And the
quick.
best way to support the brand constantly and always get your questions answered 24/7. Zach is always on call. Patreon.com/Dynasty Rewind. 10% discount for yearly membership. It's $10.80 unless you live in another country. I'm not doing the math. That gets you Discord access. And listen, it is a great community. You will love it. That is
Details in the description as well.
Yes,
Yep.
link is in bio or whatever they say. Hungry ships eat more water. So this is Blake. What does Devon A-Chain to the Dolphins do to his value? Let's go to our resident Dolphins fan. Zach, I think you were pretty excited when this pick happened. I was over here, you were over there, so I couldn't see your lovely face. But why don't you tell me what your thoughts right now?
There's a lot to digest with this pick, right? Because there are other bodies there, and they brought them all back. They brought back Raheem Mostert, they brought back Jeff Wilson, they brought back Myles Gaskin, they brought back Savon Ahmed. They brought everybody back in that room. But from everything you hear, the Dolphins really were targeting Devon A-Chain, and Mike McDaniel was talking to himself in his car about Devon A-Chain, so he wouldn't talk to other. These are just examples from the press conference. So this has to bring Devon A-Chain into the fold. I would say in a Superflex, definitely in the first round, right? I don't know how good I feel about it, just because it's going to be a timeshare at least in year 1. Maybe he's the lead running back in the timeshare in year 2. But I mean, with the running backs landing where they landed, this is one of the better fits. This is one of the better fits.
I like this pick a lot.
To immediate production as well, besides the guys in the first round.
Right.
The question I have with A-Chain is he's going to be efficient. He's going to score fantasy points, but he's not going to be the workhorse. And we know that because of his size, and we know that because of the offense.
Right.
They're going to ride the hot hand. He's going to get opportunities, but he's never going to sit there and have 25 carries in a game.
No, it's not.
And he's not the receiving back that he can, catch 5 receptions a game either. And I don't think the Dolphins necessarily do a ton of pass catching running backs. I mean, they like to throw the ball down the field. So I love it. I love the fit. I love the efficiency he's going to have. But I just am worried about the volume and long-term consistency. So I don't hate it at the end of the first, but when I'm giving my first round pick, I want a guy I feel really good about. So A-Chain for me is probably like an early second, but I have to buy in because of the situation.
Right. I think it's also with the players too. We know these guys get hurt as well.
Yeah.
So Mostert's going to get hurt. You already know that. We already know Wilson's going to get hurt.
That scheme hurts a lot of
But it hurts a lot of guys. But so when you have a guy that's younger, he got new knees, fresh knees.
Fresh knees.
We got fresh knees on offense.
Yeah.
That's why they didn't get Tajay Spears.
Right.
True.
He wouldn't have lasted very long with the
So
Dolphins.
I think his value shoots up to me, especially with that. And I think they know that. That's why they're getting so many guys.
See, the value here doesn't shoot up. He shoots up boards, but far past where I'm going to be happy drafting him. This is a great landing spot for Devon A-Chain at the end of the day. But the problem is that what I think you're getting production-wise, we already touched on. He's not going to get a lot of work. Not enough to, he's going to be efficient. I think we can all agree on that. He's a good running back, but he's just not going to get the work that justifies for me putting that first-round pick on him. Just like I wouldn't draft Zach Charbonnet there anymore because he's not going to get that work. So I can't personally advocate or indulge in drafting at the end of the first round Devon A-Chain.
Right.
If you want to talk about an early second,
That's why I was going with the early second.
I'm fine.
Yeah. It's just,
But I think he's gone by that.
does Devon A-Chain have, even with the great situation, can he be a top 12 running back over the season, I just
No.
don't think it's possible
I
because of the
think-
volume.
I think he's a great best ball player.
Well,
There you go.
let me say this
I
real quick.
hate that.
Let me say this real quick. Raheem Mostert was a fringe RB2 last year, and he was hurt a few games. Only had more than 15 carries in 4 games.
Yeah.
So
Don't-
in
don't
this offense, you don't need a lot of volume.
Yeah.
But I don't think the top 12 ceiling is there. I'll agree
Yeah.
with that.
Right.
Yeah, which I don't think justifies the first round.
That's the problem. Yep.
So before we move on, my only complaint here is if Mike McDaniels talks in his car, he's a genius, and if I do it, I need help. But Sean, let's move on. Tobias is saying, I got the 111 and 112 in the Superflex. What do you think about A-Chain and Miller with these picks? Well, here we are back on Devon A-Chain.
Yeah, we spoke about A-Chain. I don't mind Miller there. I'm okay with Miller there. Definitely.
Miller is a great long.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what's happening with Kamara yet. Jamal Williams is there, but you can't he had a great year last year. Don't get me wrong, but you can't act like he's God's gift to running backs because he had a great year and he's a fun personality. Like everybody wants to put the guys in RB1 in that offense. If Kamara's gone, I don't think that's the case. I think Miller is the great long-term solution here, and I'd be fine with a late first on him because I believe in somebody who can garner a workload in an efficient offense at the running back position. So yeah, A-Chain I don't love, and we just discussed that.
Yeah,
But
if you could trade back a little bit and get
If you
A-Chain,
can,
get some extra draft capital.
yeah,
like that.
I think
team
A-Chain
dependent.
is going to be locked as a late first ADP pick, and I think that's just where he's going to continue to go. And I think there's receivers there that are more worth drafting more than likely. I think there's tight ends there that are more worth drafting. Maybe not tight ends, but one tight end. And yeah, wide receivers for sure. This wide receiver class got good real quick.
Got good.
So, all right. So we got another super chat. This is, I don't know how to say this. I'm sorry.
DJ Dog.
DJJ Dog one.
All right. So J Dog wants to know full rebuild again. Payup.com/Dynasty Rookie picks 1 and the 101, 102, 03, 04, the 9 and 10. All right.
Yeah, he's doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 9, and 10.
I love it. Tried to trade out to the guy at 105 who needs a quarterback. Told me he is calling my bluff. I want to take all 3 quarterbacks.
Hey, buddy,
Dude.
draft the quarterbacks, trade them later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, because there's no reason to
Out of spite, you draft those 3 quarterbacks.
I'm a good spike drafter, and I love this for you. So,
Sucks, pal. Draft Will Levis at 105. Have fun, pal.
but in all fairness, too, he's saying that he's calling your bluff until the draft starts.
Right.
Because once people see that clock ticking,
once you pick 2 quarterbacks,
Draft
and you're
2
at the 104.
Draft 2 quarterbacks and be like, you want to rethink that?
Yeah.
Pal?
Exactly.
Show him your cue. with
Ask him
one
who he
quarterback.
hates the most at quarterback and make sure that's the guy available at
Yep.
104.
What you-
Actually, you do not ask him directly. You go through a proxy and find out his tiers, and then you just snipe him off from there.
What you do is you take the quarterback 102, 103, and then when you hit him up for the trade for the 104, I'm only accepting a trade for the value of 102 at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%. Because you're basically letting him, give him the option to pick his quarterback.
Right.
You get the most value out of it.
I would make that argument right now before you get the clock. Tell him, hey, honestly,
Last chance.
I'm going to screw you over unless you just make the trade.
And you know what? I want to know how this turns out.
Yeah.
I do
Please
too.
make sure to let us know.
If please, DJ Dog, if you're not a patron, please go. I want to know the rest of the story. I really do. Like, I get invested in these stories and these audits that we do. I want to know how this turns out, please.
Yeah.
Zach does get very invested whether you want to or not. So let's move on to the next one. And this is Patrick Harrison.
Wow.
This is
Patrick, we love
Patrick.
you.
Patrick and I, we co-owned a team last year. Best team in the Rewinders versus Crew League. The most fun team in the league, owned by me and Patrick. And you know what? We should have probably set our lineups. I think there was some miscommunication. Like, I think I said you said.
You're on alternating weeks.
Well, no, I
you got
said
dates
you
messed
said it
up.
weeks 1 through 17, and I'll take care of the rest. I don't think you guys know. Thank you for the super chat. We appreciate all you do, and we appreciate you, Patrick. You are the man. Thank you very much. You made my day.
Yes.
Sean, so this is from Joe. In a 1 quarterback tight end premium, can I take Kincaid at the 111? I
He's
don't.
there.
Yeah, I don't think he's there. I already have Andrews, Chig, and Jelani Woods, but my league hogs tight ends. Thanks, guys. Yeah,
So
you're
he
gonna
probably
have to,
won't be there.
You might need to move up a few picks.
unless Luke Musgrave might be the next available option at 111, maybe.
I think
Sam Laporta.
I think
Sam
Laporta.
I think Laporta and Mayer are discussion at 111 more than Kincaid.
Can we talk about Michael Mayer?
I don't think you need to trade up here because I'm happy with any of those guys.
Because
I love Mayer's landing spot.
I love Michael Mayer to the Las Vegas Raiders, which I still want to
Who
say
cares?
Oakland all the time. I love this landing spot. And you know what? What we've learned about the Raiders as well, Jimmy G's the guy. For at least 2 years.
Mhm.
They're giving him a chance. He's the guy. So hopefully,
Mhm.
well, I mean, look, I mean, if he wasn't replaced in day 2, what day 3
Well, they
quarterbacks?
can get a quarterback next year.
Right, but that quarterback's most likely going to have to sit a year, or at least.
I think they could get a quarterback in the first round. They're in a very competitive conference. That
doesn't mean they're gonna be trash.
I know that, but they could be a middle first round. They could be number 11 like the Titans were this year.
True. Yeah, not draft quarterback.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it's a better quarterback class this year.
Allegedly, that's what we said last year.
We also said that this was a really
I'm
good
going
running
with
back
what you
class,
guys
too.
say, okay?
In all fairness, we said this was a really good running back class too. So the NFL might
Let's
be
just agree that the Debbie community is doing us dirty.
Hey!
Whoa.
Shout out to the Debbie Royale, our
Yeah,
friends, and Campus to Canton.
Look at Sean back there.
Look, if you want to
It's a
get
camera.
tight end premium, you're going to have to move up. Otherwise,
Yes.
Sam Laporta, Duke
Yeah,
Musgrave,
Mayer.
these guys are
Yep.
Michael Mayer. These guys are all options at the 111. And I think it's important to know too that if just because you have your heart set on one player, don't try to get them too hard. And if you have to spend too much draft capital, you need to have backup plans
Mhm.
for every draft pick. So, Sean, this is from Aaron.
Nobody.
Are we targeting the Chiefs wide receiver room now? A lot of targets and touchdowns to be had if we pick correctly. I am targeting Travis Kelce.
Yeah, I think this is
Yeah,
one of those
exactly.
things where it's like
Pretty much.
they've always replaced Tyreek Hill through attrition. It's just like
Yep.
they just spread it out.
It's
You're not
like
going to get it.
5 different guys.
Yeah, and it's going to keep being that way because you have all these wide
Until
receivers. Rice is not the guy. I don't think any of these
Until-
guys are the guy.
until there is a really significant
Upgrade.
either via free agency or via first round pick. Anybody the Chiefs draft at wide receiver until it happens, I'm not. They will go far before I'm willing to draft them because I don't
So-
know Rice is a prospect.
Chief wide receivers are essentially 49ers running backs.
Yeah.
So until they go and get themselves a Christian McCaffrey, I don't want any. of those.
Sure.
Right.
I love that comp.
And what I will say is this: until the Kansas City Chiefs, until I see them trade up into the first half of the first round for a wide receiver,
If they take a first round wide receiver, I'm in.
I mean, we're
Yeah,
talking
totally.
like, but not like Sky Moore, like he was a late first round pick, was he not?
No, he's
Second
second
round,
round.
Yeah, I don't remember. That was last year. But if I see them like move up in the first round to get a wide receiver, then I'm going to be all in. So, Sean, instead of taking my picture, how about you bring another comment up for us? And this is from Jack. Do we agree that Richardson is the best quarterback pick? I think that was the best landing spot for him.
I think that was
Yeah, it was the
that
best
was
situation for him.
like
Yeah.
A-Chain needed the Dolphins, Richardson needed the Colts.
Yes.
I think that's a beautiful landing spot. It's a great coach to develop him and use him in a way that stylistically helped Jalen Hurts, flourish and be better. I like Anthony Richardson a lot. I think you still got to talk your, risk adversity and talk yourself through that.
Mhm.
If you are a team that is at 102 that doesn't have a lot else going on, I think Richardson is your pick for the upside. And just if the pick burns, the pick burns. That or trade out. But if you need like I got to be your quarterback too, that you're maybe feeling a little more competitive, maybe that you traded into that pick, or you have 3 solid quarterbacks already, and you're thinking about drafting, Jahmyr Gibbs early or Jackson Smith-Njigba early. That might be the pick. I don't want to be I'm very optimistic with Richardson, but I'm still going to play it cautiously because we have not seen enough to say that, yep, he has all the tools he needs. He's going to be great.
Toolsy.
However, unlike with Will Levis, I haven't seen so much that turns me off of Richardson to be like, I really don't know how this guy is going to do in the NFL. Richardson shows a lot of positive things. And I think this was the landing spot we talked about that he needed, before he was drafted. And this was the dream landing spot for him.
I will say this, Bob. I'm going to have a lot of Will Levis. Because
Good.
people are going to hate him.
Good for you. They already hate him. They doubled down on hating him. Great.
Trickle down now.
That's
I
fine.
really
love
wanted.
that display.
Let's light up the comments a little bit here. I really wanted the Falcons to draft Will Levis because everybody loves Drake London, but everybody hates Will Levis.
Who's stopping this offense?
Probably Will Levis
Will
at
Levis.
that point. But if wishes were fishes, the world would be an ocean. And I hear the hungry water.
Hungry.
Sinks
The
ships.
boats would be hungry.
Hungry water sinks ships.
Back to the
There we
boats.
go. That's a
Yeah.
good one, actually.
Yeah, I love it.
Made up
Sean,
phrase.
what do you got for us? Another super chat. So 100 fantasy football, 12 team Superflex. I have the 104. Burrow and Trevor are my quarterbacks.
I don't think people need to be scared of having good quarterback threes.
No.
Yeah.
I think that's a great spot. I think
Running
that's-
backs are Swift and Mixon.
I think I never draft for need.
Swift from
I think that's, at the end of the day, not always the best way to draft. But I think this is a great spot. If Richardson's on the board there, that's a great spot to draft him. I think if Richardson's there, I'd take him. I think maybe otherwise I look to go to fix Gibbs or even Jason if that's your flavor. But I think Gibbs is the more valuable piece of draft than what you should draft. I think that's a game you play when you're on the board.
Yeah, and I think we're giving this advice to everyone now who is in the top 6 but does not need a quarterback. See what you can do to get to 101. See if it's even possible.
Yeah.
If it's possible,
I
it
love
might
that.
be worth it because, like we talked about earlier in the stream, the running back landscape, if you don't have one of the top guys, it almost doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
You can replace them with there's like 40 different guys you can throw into your RB2, RB3 slot. So if you can go get Bijan and lock in one of the top dynasty running backs who's locked in for volume, locked in for a couple of years, I mean, at this point, that's rare.
Right.
I agree.
Sean, what do you got for us there?
Maybe.
Sean,
It's from
Fade
Tyler.
Sean.
If Tampa doesn't add a running back today, what does that do with Rashad White's
Well,
value?
I mean, if you can buy at value, sure.
Right now, before the draft even
Yeah.
starts.
I don't care for a day
Yeah.
running back goes in because Rashad White was a day 2 running back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
fine.
I mean,
love
look,
it.
I think the Buccaneers are going to add to that room, but there was also, if they don't add today, they said that they might bring back Leonard Fournette.
I heard that. They're not coming back.
Possible, but I don't really think that. And depending on where in day 3, like if it's a 4th round running back, you might be more inclined to think he could get more carries. But the later they go in the day, I think I'm all in on Rashad White this year. I thought he did pretty well last
He
time.
played really well.
I think it's going to come down to what the cost is. But I mean, he is going to be back who has most of that backfield to himself, and it might be worth the price.
I would just.
Unless they
I don't
open
know
up
what
the
that.
screen game.
I don't know what that offense is going to look like because quarterback down there is
Stinks.
Kyle Trask.
Rough.
this season. Go pick him up. Wow.
I do think, Mike, that we need to wait on buying any running backs after the draft for a little bit because I think tomorrow starts the day when teams can sign free agents and it doesn't count against the compensatory picks. So we might see some running backs
We'll see
land.
Zeke go.
Zeke, Kareem Hunt,
Mhm.
Leonard Fournette.
Sure.
So I would
Good
be
call.
I would be patient on buying running backs for the next week or two. Let things play out. Let running backs on the free agent market land somewhere and then buy later in the offseason.
I think a great time to buy running backs is the last minute you need them.
Mhm.
Because there's just, with running backs, especially these
Too
days,
volatile.
they just, the stock market on running backs just goes ballistic. Whereas wide receivers, unless they suffer a traumatic injury, I mean, doesn't happen too much. I think the production stays pretty similar. Running backs are just so volatile. I think you just chill, till week 1. And then, you do have to fight the battle of, well, they know I need this person, so now I have to pay a premium.
No, you don't.
But no, that's a thing. I mean, if the other manager is smart, we're going to assume that in this case, that they're going to look over your roster and see that you need a running back, and they're going to try to charge a premium. But if you're going for a top guy, it's probably more than likely worth it, especially if it's a guy that's just
Back to my point of
Has
build
the
around
most-
wide receivers.
as what it's
Yeah,
always
longevity.
been. What it's always
Yeah,
been.
that's what we're really into.
Tight ends.
And top 4 tight ends.
All right, this is another channel member. Oh,
Easy.
sorry, not today. Andy Moss says, day 3 sleeper running back you're most intrigued with drafting.
Let's
Barnes,
see.
a good landing spot. Dwayne McBride, baby.
You want Josh
Let's
Adams, part
go.
2. Go
Yes.
get Dwayne
I want
McBride.
Josh Adams. Listen, Josh Adams led the Eagles in rushing
With
one year.
what, like
500
500
yards.
Yes,
Yeah.
he did it. And it was a fun year. It was not. It was a
Man.
really bad
It
year.
was
So good.
I'm still interested to see where Sean Tucker goes. I know we had the medical
Israel
concern.
What
Love
if he goes? I like Izzy A. That's probably
I
my
like
pick.
Izzy
Eric
A.
Gray, I like.
I'm-
So I'm
Let's
curious to
see
see where he
who
goes.
else
I am intrigued by that Sean Tucker though, because Sean Tucker does have talent, but it's just his condition. I don't know if he's ever going to get cleared or because obviously.
Chase Brown.
Yeah, he was weird, but
Roshan
Yeah.
Johnson.
Or do anybody want to take a risk with that?
I'm really looking forward to seeing where Evan Holden is.
You know,
Because
I
there
know
are some
fun.
prime opportunities.
we're talking
still
about
available.
running backs here, but I'm really curious to see where Charlie Jones goes.
Oh,
Yes.
I love me some Charlie Jones.
Charlie
We're going to be
Jones-
very happy to
Charlie Jones has been a
gets
hot
drafted.
topic
Hot
in this
topic.
house. for
Let's
the
go
last
over
2 years.
some available running backs as of right now. We have Sean Tucker, as you mentioned, Eric Gray, Chase Brown, Zach Evans, still on the board as well.
Who's surprised?
Deuce Vaughn, the smallest player ever at the combine. Evan Hull, Roshan Johnson, Kenny McIntosh. I mentioned Dwayne McBride, Israel Abanaconda, the very productive Mohamed Ibrahim, and that's pretty much it. Titus Swen still out there as well.
Watch out.
And Keaton Mitchell from
Evan Hall, did you
ECU.
mention him?
I did mention
Hall?
Evan
Okay.
Hall.
Evan
Mitchell
Hall's
was a
a
guy
good
from
one.
Very fast.
a little
I'm not
bit
listening.
I think he's a UDFA personally. But yeah, I'm really excited about day 3 running backs. You know that.
Yeah, Evan Hall is probably Evan Hall and Izzy are probably my 2.
Evan Hall, a bit more dynamic than I expected from his frame.
Mhm.
And just what he looks like he would be as a running back.
Mhm.
Way more nimble than I expected. Sean, you're giving me the side eye. Andreas wants to know, where would you guys draft Will Levis?
If I need a quarterback, I am willing to draft him 110, 111, 112 at that point. If I need a quarterback and I'm willing to take a chance on him. If I'm a contending team need a quarterback, I'd rather trade for like Jordan Love. Thank you, Bob.
Yep.
Then take the swing on Will Levis because I think the production likely isn't to come this year. But at the same time, quarterback goes down in the preseason, we could see Ryan Tannehill on the move, and Will Levis is starting from week 1. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. If I'm a contender, I don't hate trying to move for Jimmy G as well. He's gonna have a
No,
decent
I think that's
year.
fine too.
Derek
No.
Carr.
Derek Carr.
Derek Carr is another great
Yeah,
one.
I mean, if you need a
Absolutely.
quarterback, I'd rather go after those guys for a short-term fix at cheaper than drafting Will Levis the back half of the first.
Yeah.
For sure. Sean, what do you got for me here as well? Tommy wants to know, who should I take at 102? Is there any other?
Everybody.
Bryce Young,
quarterback.
CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, whichever one you
Whichever you
prefer.
give.
I would pick
Running
Bryce
back.
Young,
I
CJ
would
Stroud,
take CJ
CJ
Stroud.
Stroud, Bryce Young,
Bryce Young.
Bryce Young.
Yeah, I mean, it depends obviously on
Your
Context
preference,
here.
your own personal
Superflex.
preference.
You're probably going to lean quarterback a little bit more.
If it's one quarterback,
It's Gibbs.
it's
It's
Gibbs.
Gibbs. Because of the value.
Yeah,
Because you're moving him.
you
for-
need a first-round running back.
You're moving him for more than you're moving him or getting for anybody else down the board. So I mean, anybody you try to move for, JSN, any other wide receiver, if you were to move Gibbs, you take in this case instead of just best player available, because I think that's a old wash saying that still reigns
They
true.
still use it, right?
But at the end of the day, best value available, what you can, if you were to need to flip that player for later, because that's the thing with quarterbacks, Superflex. That's why if you're in that range, you should probably take a quarterback because that's what you're moving the most for later at the end of the day.
I agree. Sean, so this is from OG Cheese. I have an auction draft today, 101 in a week. Any advice?
Whatever you have to spend goes on
Spend
Bijan.
it.
Wait, how does that work? An auction draft, you have 101.
Yeah, how does that work?
I don't know. I also don't know if it's startup or.
I think they may have an auction draft startup, and then there's the rookie draft later.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
So it says in a week. So.
You don't.
How did you get
Have-
101?
No, it
because
says
sometimes-
auction draft is today.
Could have been a Kirby
It's two
style
different
draft.
drafts.
Yeah.
That's just when it starts.
Like how I was trying to set up the Rewind Crew draft and everybody was fighting me on it, so I just said I'm not doing
I
anything.
think you buy wise on wide receivers and quarterbacks where you can, and then you draft Bijan as your hero running back, and you go from there.
Go from there.
And whatever running backs you can scrounge up late at value, that's probably where I'm looking. Probably what I'm looking to do.
Yeah.
Actually, a little advice from Bob Van himself. So another super chat. Thank you very much.
Oh, look at that name.
This is from Huss Anti-Rewinder. Come on, man.
Not sure what to think of
I don't think your actions match up with your.
It's because we called him an anti-rewinder. in one of
Oh,
the
that's
drafts
right,
once,
'cause
he drafted Zach
Zach
Evans and
Oh.
AJ.
And
Actually, you know what? Huss,
Congratulations.
Huss, I love you regardless. So
We do.
are Brian Robinson / Antonio Gibson safe
No.
now that the Commanders did
No.
draft a running back in
Yeah.
day 2? Name is a joke. I got you.
Yes.
No, listen. Nobody is safe on that team until this draft is over and until the UDFA process is over. As far as
I'm not worried about UDFAs. I'd be worried about. I'd be slightly worried about good running
Wasn't
backs.
Steve Slayton a UDFA?
I wouldn't be really
If
worried.
Dwayne McBride goes there, I'm not worried. But if Eric Gray, Evan Hall, Izzy go there, I'm.
Are you worried, or are you just like?
I mean, I'm not touching these guys anyway.
I mean,
So,
in redraft, or if you're a contending team, I'm going
Oh,
after
yeah.
Gibson all over the place. I love Gibson this year. He's going to be.
I can't
used in the
wait-
passing game.
I
J.D.
can't wait for
McKissick
you
is
to be
gone.
so frustrated later.
Oh my
J.D.
god.
McKissick was.
Oh, I don't like productive running backs who score fantasy points.
It's got to be Brian Robinson.
Well, then I don't know why you like Antonio Gibson or Brian Robinson.
Both of those guys score fantasy points.
I'm not worried
Not
about
many.
Gibson at all.
Not many.
I mean, it depends too on what your team needs. Brian Robinson's good for like 10 points a game.
I mean, with how running backs look these days, these guys have roles.
They do.
I'm happy with that. I'll take them.
Yeah, that's true.
I know what I'm getting with these guys. I don't know what I'm getting with most of the running backs.
I'm allocating assets elsewhere.
We say some things here on the Dynasty Room too, like they like to say a quarterback is toolsy. If you have a podcast and you say a player has traits,
Duh. Everybody.
expand. I have traits. Pork has traits, and just when you say too is that he's out with a knee, well, he has too. So just try to expand a little bit, fellow podcasters. Sean, you said that we wanted to do something. My man Kev. Kev is an OG rewinder. Yes. What's up, guys? How are you doing, Kev? Hopefully things are beautiful over there in the UK for you right now. I'd leave Levis on the board and walk away.
Might be the right idea.
I'm with him.
I guess it depends on your team. That might be.
I am not a Levis guy.
You know what? I'm gonna like him out of spite.
That's fine. Perfectly fine with me.
You think Andy Holloway get some coffee? I don't think so. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, did you put some mayo in there?
Ooh.
Did we say that we were going to do that?
Yeah, I did say that.
We did say we were going to tamper with
or a condiment of our
Well,
choice.
I just don't want you to know what I stirred that coffee with. So, Sean, why don't we move on to the next question coming? Eric DeJesus is saying, with the Eagles not having a pick until the 6th, is it likely they trade for someone or sign a guy like Derrick Henry? I think Derrick Henry is extremely unlikely. He just costs too much money.
Mm-hmm.
And I know they don't have a pick until the 6th round, but I never leave Harry Roseman out of trading or moving around. I mean, it would not surprise me to see them have multiple picks.
Right, and we have a ton of compensatory picks next year as well.
Which
So
is
he
going to
could
be
probably
really
use,
exciting.
he probably use some of those, and like I said, they talked about splits, so that's a good possibility.
You can't use those picks until next year because you don't have them yet. Like you will get them, but you don't have them yet.
No, there's some picks. I'm saying they got compensatory picks on top of the other picks.
You got to keep the lights on.
I mean, like, is Rashad Penny and Kenny Gainwell, like, that could be the backfield.
It could be.
Trade Sermon.
DeAndre Swift. Oh,
To
that's true.
who?
Well, listen, so
Got a
there
conspiracy
is.
theory here.
Well, hold on. Now this Ruben Frank agrees with me.
Put on your tinfoil hat quick.
He feels that they stashed Trey Sermon,
For a
wanted to
reason.
make sure that he was acclimated in the system, get healthy or whatever, and that he could be the guy within a year or two. And look, what they paid for him, I don't know. If you could get him for a couple fab bucks and you have a big roster, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Give Trey
There's
Sermon.
$0 fab
Yeah.
value for Trey Sermon.
Yeah.
I did that, and I got him in a couple spots. So
You get what you pay for.
Lance says, "Where are you taking Josh Downs
One
in a one quarterback league?"
I mean, it's
Love the Lance
it's a mid-early second, I think, for me.
It was a great Lance.
I think is where I'd be willing to take him. I think mock draft we did last night, I believe he went at the 208. So I think
That was a
that,
super flex draft.
that was
Superflex.
you're right. But I figure at 208 you have probably those top 3 quarterbacks off the board already.
In a one quarterback?
And one quarterback.
No.
The top
no.
3?
Oh, yeah.
No,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
no.
yeah.
Zach,
No.
Zach, do you play one quarterback
No,
leagues?
yes.
Do you drafting them?
Yes.
Do you have quarterbacks?
Yes.
You sure?
Yes.
Okay, because they get picked at the
They're
beginning of the second
no,
round.
they're not.
Zach,
No, they are
hold
not.
Hold on, wait.
No.
Mid-second.
No, Kenny Pickett did not go in the early second round.
Kenny Pickett is not Bryce Young or
Right.
Anthony
Quarterbacks,
Richardson.
all 3 of those
He's
quarterbacks
Will
are
Levis.
not going to be
He's
off in
Will
the
Levis.
second round of a one quarterback league. That's totally false.
Nah, they're going to be going.
We're all friends.
Totally false.
We're all friends here. Let's calm
You guys are
ourselves.
insane.
The comment that Zach made this morning was fantastic.
He
Shout
said
out to Zach
otherwise.
Duarte. But I will tell you this. In a one quarterback league, the year Trevor Lawrence came out, I had the 107. I took him with the 107
Yeah.
because that board was like after the 106, there was no other positions that I felt comfortable drafting. It's not a tight end.
I don't think that's the same situation.
I understand that, but I'm saying quarterbacks get picked, and by the 208, something like that.
At least one or two of you.
I think
I can agree with 1 or 2.
I think
I don't think all 3.
but the highest upside one falls or whatever. But so I think the range you're looking at is 204 to 208. I think is realistic. I think there's a small handful of quarterbacks off the board. Sorry. Even if it's not super flex, I still think they're off the board at that point.
See, the problem is Zach was inside all day yesterday because it was raining all day. It doesn't rain all day in Florida, by the way. I mean, not even when there's hurricanes, it doesn't rain all day. So Zach needs to take a walk. Then we have to walk and get him in the grass.
I mean, we get 6 inches of rain and it floods the airport and the schools. It's embarrassing.
You can't wait all day.
When you build things on top of sand, what do you expect? Sean, what do we got next for us here? Take your time.
No, great rush, Sean.
We don't have anything going on.
No. Josh Jones.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Sean, this is
There you go,
fantastic production. So this is from Matthew, and I'm not even going to try to say that. I know I'm a broken record, but Roschon Johnson to the Eagles, if Howie doesn't make any moves,
I like
I don't see him being there in the 6th round, but I don't hate it.
I like it.
I wouldn't be surprised if he was there in 6, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't hate it, but it doesn't feel like an Eagles pick to me.
I don't think it doesn't.
Yeah, that
I'm not an
actually
Eagles
kinda makes
fan or an
sense.
Eagles team. I think that's a solid pick. I think putting him with Gainwell, I think that's a nice little pairing where he actually gets a little more run, pun intended, than you think.
Yeah, compliments him.
I don't think he's there. I don't know. Maybe he's.
I don't think he's
there
going
in
to more
6.
than 6, but
I don't think so either.
I think you're looking at Dwayne McBride, which I think would just be lovely for you.
Okay, so this is from, I'm not sure to say this, Cow Chad TTV. Traded Kenneth Walker III and Drake London for the 101 an hour before round 1 started. Could the last 2 days have gone any better for that move? No. I mean, I
Congratulations.
love that.
that's awesome.
That's great.
I hate losing wide receiver 0, but you're getting him. So he's so good. He's above wide receiver 1. We might even give him negative.
Yeah, I mean I don't think that trade gets done with. What happened last night was Zach Charbonnet.
Good
No,
for
we
you.
don't.
Good for you. I love
Just,
that.
I mean, I don't know if I love the process on it because that's expensive to get from Walker to Bijan, but
That worked
how
out.
it panned
So
out,
it
it's,
did.
it's one of
it
those
worked
where
out.
Yeah.
you look at it at first and you're like, okay, and then you look at it after and it's like, oh, all right, that aged pretty well.
Definitely
Yeah.
one.
For sure. So EJD says, is the Detroit running back room really any better than Seattle's? Are they all screwed?
I'm not
I'm
worried
still
about it.
liking Detroit's running back
I'm not
room.
worried
Yeah,
about
because they're going to get rid of Swift anyway.
It's going to settle itself out.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, well,
Seattle won't.
yeah, because I mean,
Gibbs and Montgomery.
Swift is gone after this year, regardless if he doesn't get traded any sooner. And Montgomery, I believe, has an easy out after this year as well. So I mean, that could be Gibbs back
And a
within
big
year.
difference between Gibbs being selected at 12
True.
and Zach Charbonnet being selected day 2.
True.
For sure. Sean, what do we got? My man Kevin back. Who's doing your Debbie rankings these days? Nate?
Me. He's just asking if I'm doing them. Yes, I'm doing them.
Nate's doing them.
I'm doing them. And apparently no one's happy with the Debbie community, apparently.
I'm happy with the Debbie community.
I'm just saying they keep hyping up classes they can't deliver on. That's all I'm
This
saying.
is still a great class. It's just not the class.
We see this every year where
Such a good
It's a
things
job.
hell of a spin.
don't always go the way we want it to. You have to adjust. You have to adjust.
Like I said before, I don't think it's a talent issue. It's a landing spot issue around here.
Yeah, out after 24
All
for
right, so
Montgomery. So.
So the follow-up to the question previous, is there any scenario where the lines are right about Gibbs over Bijan?
Sure. There's a scenario.
So is that
There's always a
possible?
scenario.
They
But
might feel
When it comes to
that
TPR.
Gibbs fits their system better.
Yeah.
I think that's what it comes down to is just scheme fit
Mhm.
and the fact that they really wanted that receiving back.
Mhm.
And no, of course, Bijan, quite the receiver himself,
He is.
but Gibbs had a 20% target share on Alabama's offense.
Mhm.
I mean, he was their top wide receiver basically,
He was their offense.
and that's something we don't see out of running backs.
Mhm.
So he's a special, unique running back. He deserves the first round draft capital. I think Bijan's still the better player though.
So I think Bijan can kind of do it the same way.
Love it.
He can do a lot.
So this is
Yeah.
from Blake, and he wants to know, how do you guys feel about Mingo to
I
Carolina?
love it.
Teaming up with Bryce Young, and I think it's great. He needed some help there.
Mhm.
And I love this. And Mingo had been rising a little bit before the draft, and this just solidifies the rise here. Let me ask you guys this: Jonathan Mingo or Rasheed Rice? If you had to pick
Jonathan
between
Mingo.
the two.
all
I'm going
day.
Mingo.
But I can't wait for the camp battle between
This-
Mingo and Marshall.
This is a conversation of where you know, if you're
Big slot.
you're
Isn't
drafting.
LaVisca still there?
And LaVisca.
Oh,
Got 3 guys coming out of the slot.
Weapons out the wazoo.
And
for
Shai
Bryce
Smith.
Young.
he's getting cut.
Oh, PB. He
Yeah.
keeps getting
That's
better.
not Trump.
I think there's a case
Tommy
where
Trimble's dead.
I'll definitely take Mingo over Rice one
Yeah.
for one, but you might get more if you draft Rice and trade for
You can get
Mingo.
Mingo plus probably.
You know, because God
The
freaking
KC
knows
bump.
the KC bump
That
is
KC
real.
bump.
Yep.
There's
And
teams
it's
right
fake.
now. There's teams right now that when a player
It's
gets
been fake for
drafted,
years.
they get the bump, and that is Kansas City, Buffalo, and right now Philadelphia. Whenever a positional player goes there, they automatically get a bump. If you don't believe in that player, but you're forced into drafting them, try to move them for plus capital. Nice hands, Mike. I got it. Thank you.
What is that cutoff for wide receivers? Was it top 40? Where
Top 40-ish. We want
Mingo was
that.
39.
Yeah.
So I think, first of all, you guys knew this before the draft, but and this is not us, but a lot of the community outside of us and the patron were kind of fading Jonathan Mingo.
Yeah.
And I was a little bit upset at that because there's no context when it comes to Jonathan Mingo. The offense he came from, his target share.
Yep, that's
A little
a
upset.
copy.
And I think this is justified because this is what we've been hearing. The NFL likes him, and that was proven with the draft capital yesterday. It's a great landing spot for him to land. And I will never draft Percy Rice over Jonathan Mingo.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You heard it here
I don't wanna
first
be
from
stuck
the
with that
Bald Dome
asset.
Dynasty. All right, so Bateman or 204 in a 12-team Superflex half-point PPR.
204.
I'm gonna take the 204.
Yeah.
Reroll the dice.
Ooh.
Wow.
That too.
Ooh, there we go. Zach, how's that make you feel? Pretty good?
It doesn't make me feel any different.
Validated.
We felt the same.
I felt validated the moment I said it.
I'm also at that inside, so I get it. Sean, what is the next one that we have? That was from Daniel.
Create fake drama over here, man.
It's called Good TV. So this is from Andy. Thoughts on Akers and Pierce Dynasty stock after day 2? Are they solid running back 2s for you in 2023? That's not out of the question right now.
I can't commit until we get through today because I don't think that Cam Akers or Damian Pierce are uber talented running backs who could keep away a day 3 running back from taking part of their workload. They're still going to be the RB1 of those backfields, but I don't think either one of those are workhorses.
I know.
And Akers, yeah, I mean, I would not be surprised if Akers got replaced by a 4th rounder.
Well, and you have to remember the GOAT, Kyron Williams, is still on that team.
That's true.
He is.
So you got to think about that. But I think, that Rams rushing attack, I think they're one of the players for a running back in this draft. They were one of the teams that had a metric load of encounters leading up to the draft with the running back position as well. Izzy A was somebody that they encountered.
And he's our comp for him.
And he is our Cam Akers comp. So if they
Yeah.
like Cam Akers at one point, Izzy A is a good pick for that. But I'm okay with Pierce. I think he's fine. I think if somebody comes in, it's not going to damage, what's there for Pierce already. So I can't get behind Akers as a running back 2 right now. After the draft, even then, I'm concerned with that offense as a whole, honestly. But I would not put Cam Akers as a running back 2.
No, I would not.
So just a reminder, we got about 45 minutes left. If you want your questions answered, Super Chat is the way to go. Guaranteed answer. But Sean, what is the next one? If
We
you
do have a little bit of breaking news.
Do it.
The Saints have traded up, and they are now on the clock today.
Saints are on the clock, so you heard it here second,
Who
possibly
do they
depending
want
on
first?
if you were on.
Izzy Anaconda.
Boy, just keep messing it up.
Yeah,
for me.
Charlie Jones.
Who's going to be the running back that saves this draft class? Was what we started saying after Zack Charbonnet.
So far, it has been nobody. Sean,
There's
what do you
no
have for
heroes
us?
coming.
This is for Bob
I
specifically.
got nothing for you.
Oh my God.
It's Will Anderson or nobody.
There you go.
I am not the IDP man anymore, unfortunately.
He's been demoted.
I have been demoted. Check out
He's devolving,
NATO
as someone told me
NFL.
today.
on Twitter. That would be my recommendation.
All right, so
Unfortunately,
so
me.
a good one here. Prob 1017. How should we value mid to late second round picks and beyond? Rather flip for a bet than dart throw.
depends on what the bet you're getting is. Because I think the dart throws that could be there, like these super worthwhile. I think that might be a good spot for tight ends, depending on your premiums and things like that. Maybe it's a good spot for quarterback if you're still kicking around. If it's a one quarterback league for Zack. Yeah, mid to late second. That's where it started getting really hairy.
Yeah, it's a little
When we
fun.
got into that draft, that mock draft from last night. So it depends on what kind of bets you can get, but I feel like the thing is too is like, are people really selling bets for this draft class right now? I struggle to believe that. So it definitely comes down to who you can realistically get. Nate is maybe looking around. No,
Looking good. Yeah,
not looking
good.
positive. So,
I kind of still like the mid to late second round. I think that's where you get like the Denzel Mims maybe. I think there are some.
You mean Marvin
I'm sorry.
Harris?
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not picking
Oh,
up
yeah.
yeah, let's trade that mid to late second.
Yeah, Marvin. I think there are
The
some good
Mims
players.
train rides again. Speaking of Mims, I think that's a fine spot.
Yeah.
to start
Yeah,
Mims.
so I think there are some value picks in the mid to late second round. The third round's now where it starts to get a little steep
funky.
now. Yeah.
See, I think the third round now is where it's going to be looking at, pay attention to where these running backs are going that may have opportunities.
Mhm.
Arizona is still a team. Los Angeles is a team, the Rams and the Chargers. Honestly, Eckler wants out of there.
Yeah.
You got to look at the teams that need some running back help. I know the Eagles aren't in there, so you got to look at teams that need help there. Those could be guys that you're looking at in the third round now, and quite honestly, could be guys that get elevated up the board because of those good landing spots. And if it's early day 3, you got to take that into consideration and go from there. And that could push. That still keeps the mid to late second viable because it's going to push somebody down the board.
Yeah,
There's probably about 18 really good picks that I feel really good about right now. Like we've kind of discussed it. There's that solid 18 picks that feels really good. We need some nice juice
landing spots
this today to get us through to the third round and hopefully through the third round. And then 4th and 5th, as always, can you trade out to next year for a better round pick or a reroll? Or are there people that you really like, that you believe in, that you can stash to hopefully turn into something, or that you can flip later for even better draft capital than you would have if you just traded for being on the clock?
I kind of feel like the Saints moved up here to maybe grab a wide receiver.
I think that's a possibility.
Charlie
X-Men. Yeah, let's go X-Men.
I almost want Charlie Jones more at this point.
All right, so this next question is for our very own Zack Duarte. And this is from Chev. Couldn't make it in for the draft, unfortunately. Chev, we miss you, but he wants to know, Zack, who's one player you are most excited to see drafted today, and where are you hoping?
I'm kind of interested to see where A.T. Perry lands. I like
Victorian
On the bench.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I mean,
rude.
I think there are still some teams that need a wide receiver 2 or 3. Some teams that would interest us a lot.
I don't actually hate A.T. Perry.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like for what he can, there's not a lot of A.T. Perrys in this draft with the size and the type of wide receiver.
There's actually only one A.T. Perry in the draft.
Well, thank you.
I think Xavier Hutchinson.
Yeah, so I know you guys are big. I haven't really looked at Xavier Hutchinson that much.
Yeah,
Again, I'm not the scout guy.
A.T. Perry is an
Right.
X receiver. Xavier Hutchinson
Is
not
everything.
I mean, he could be, but he's probably not put into that role in the NFL. A.T. Perry is that sideline X receiver. Like you said, there's not a lot of them in this draft class. So I'm interested to see where he goes to.
I'm hoping he goes to one of these offenses and coaching staffs that has a good coach. I know the Eagles don't need one, but an Eagles-like team that they have a good coaching staff in place to develop an A.T. Perry.
Yeah, I mean, I doubt they draft a wide
But I'm
receiver.
saying it's a
about
compliment, Mike.
compliment,
It's a compliment.
right.
Okay, like take the compliment. Just
I don't know who the team, but thank you.
but it is your hometown team.
Fair enough. This is from EJD. You guys called Reed. Yeah, we loved him. And where does he go now in a 12-team, full PPR, 2-quarterback league? So not a Superflex league, but a 2-quarterback league.
If you're in a league with me, it's going to be around the late first
Mm-hmm.
and early second.
Bob, let me ask you this: if he had gotten similar draft capital, like in the same range, but not to the Packers,
I
still
don't
feel
not
the
much
same?
not much change. I had Reed graded very highly. So that not much would change for me. I'm that much more excited because I think he has potential to be the Packers wide receiver 1 on that team and command a good workload and a consistent target share.
Romeo Dubs, huh?
So
That might sound crazy to some people, but our comp for Jaden Reed is Christian Kirk.
that's our floor comp.
That's our floor comp.
And I
You don't want to hear our
that.
ceiling comp.
Actually,
It may or may not be is Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
So
there you have it.
I'm just saying,
Green Bay.
somebody who torched Green Bay for years,
Yeah.
they draft this guy.
Not familiar.
well, now he just torches the.
That's why they draft
championship.
Tucker Kraft because he looked familiar to Josiah DeGora.
Bob, are you sure you don't want to touch on that pick?
I'm good. I'm just getting my
good, yeah.
shots where
So
I
listen,
can.
we did not get those 4 extra patrons yesterday. That's a shame. Love our new patrons though. And look, what I
I
can
tell
you
you
is this.
what,
I was over here doing
your money's
a
worth.
little
last
scouting,
night.
so I couldn't see Bob. And then we'd just be, talking, the draft's happening, and all you hear is, I am so effing mad. Just out of nowhere. And it was just,
Slaps the couch.
and I'll tell you, it was just classic Bob. Surly Bob was back. Salty Bob. Everybody was here. It was
Well, the
great.
best
Andy knows what's up.
the best part about it, looking back on myself, I guess.
Some self-reflection.
The best part about it was the first pick, Luke Musgrave. I'm like, ooh, I like that.
I love that.
Packers are turning over a new leaf. This is gonna be great.
Oh, they flipped it back.
Leroy Butler comes out again. He's like, we got more help for Jordan Love, and I'm like, Josh Downs is on the board. Jaden Reed is on the
Right
board.
back.
Well,
But they went Jalen Reed.
this is a question for you. I think you'll answer this better. If I already have Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs, should I fade Reed and Musgrave? Cam always wants to draft this Packers, and I get that you want to get players from your favorite team on your roster.
I think I'm more likely to just fade Dobbs to obscurity at this point. I think he's going to be a fun player to like have on our team
for the NFL.
For the NFL, I think that's going to be awesome. I like the player enough. I think he's a fun player. But Reed, I have very, very high expectations for at this point. And I think Musgrave would have been a better piece if we hadn't drafted Reed, because I think that tight end spot could really push for some serious workload alongside Christian Watson. We were saying if Dalton Kincaid wins the Packers, I feel about as good about him as I do on the Bills. But, that tight end without another wide receiver would have been very popular. But I think the wide receiver is going to take over. I think Luke Musgrave is fine. I think he's a good piece. But those would be Dobbs is out of my range at this point. I think you pick one of the two and roll with that. Maybe you go Musgrave since you have Watson already, so you don't have the same position group on the same team at least.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe you look to draft Reed and then just trade the other one, because Christian Watson's still going to put up points and he's going to be an exciting player. I think I'm excited to see this offense under Jordan Love, honestly. And I think, again, something of note, when you start getting excited about players in an offense, you have to be excited about the quarterback too.
You have to be.
The primest example is Kirk Cousins.
Yep, I was just about to say that.
Because-
You had Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen there. Adam Thielen at the back end.
And before that, then you had Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins is one of the few quarterbacks in the NFL right now that has produced two top 12 wide receivers multiple times.
Jordan Addison.
But everybody, Kirk Cousins sucks because he can't run the ball and he can't perform in primetime games.
Yeah.
I don't care how they do in primetime games. I care how they do on my fantasy roster.
Check the numbers.
Sean, let's move on. And this is from Aaron. Is J.K., I'm assuming J.K. Dobbins, a buy considering how the running back market looks right now?
Yes.
So do the Ravens?
I would say so. I don't think Dobbins is going to be re-signed by the Ravens, and that's the unfortunate part for his long-term value. Because of the injuries. I think the Ravens love him, but maybe because of the injuries, they get a discount for him and they do keep it. I think that's a possibility as well. But I don't think the Ravens are the team to re-sign running backs if he's looking for anything, remotely close. Yeah, to that. But Dobbins, I think, is going to be set up for a really good year this year. I think the new offense is going to be great.
Yes,
I think he's Gus Edwards is back, but you're not worried about Gus. Dobbins is the RB1 in that offense. Lamar hopefully will be running a little bit less with that big contract. I'm definitely buying Dobbins right now. I would move an early second very easily for Dobbins, but I think you have to move a late first for Dobbins
At least. I think what I'm doing with Dobbins is I'm buying now, similar to how I was buying Barkley last year. You buy the production dip off of the injury. You buy that. I don't think it's going to be as substantial. I don't think he's a running back 5 by any stretch of the imagination or anything like that, or a top 5 running back, excuse me. But I think you get him this year, you play redraft with him. If you're competing, if you're rebuilding, and you want to try to be dynasty house flipper, fine, do that. But I'd rather this for
losing
me.
game.
It is
It's a losing game.
usually a losing game. But if you're in the market for a running back right now and you need somebody who's going to be in a solid offense, I think JK is a great get at a reasonable cost. I think it's that, mid to late first, maybe you throw a second this year or next. I think that's a pretty fair deal for most people, especially, how JK was being valued before the draft. I don't think much has changed. Maybe you're, a little more positive, but and that's talking market. I think as us, we're definitely more positive because he hasn't been replaced by any stretch. But I think my end goal, let him produce on your roster this year. Let everybody get hyped about him getting a contract. Let that news roll out that he's going to get a big contract. He's looking for a big contract. That there's teams looking. See you later.
Yeah, I was going to move on then. Sean?
Got an HR complaint.
An HR complaint?
He answered. He said A.T. Perry.
Yeah, he did.
No, I said something like, Mike, well, there's only one A.T. Perry.
There is only one A.T. Perry in the world.
It's true. Well, I don't know about that.
Our apologies, Jeff. All right, you know what?
We'll get the paperwork in.
Yeah,
Jeff, thanks for having my back, man. I wish you were here, dude.
Yeah, I wish I was here too. So we're going to send that to our HR department to file the paperwork. So Sean, I'm going
We
to
should let Zack answer this one.
after this.
This is a
There
good
you go.
question. Yeah.
How high
I like-
is too high for Anthony Richardson in a 1 quarterback league, Zach? Because apparently you might as well go 0 QB.
I would say would you take in a one quarterback? I still think like end of the first round. End of the first round.
I think that's a good spot.
Yeah.
But how high is
Let's go one quarterback. We got Bijan Gibbs. I would take the 4 wide receivers in the first round.
Yeah.
I think that's it. So maybe anything 106 and above.
You picking Addison? You said
Yes.
It's all
2
four.
running backs, 4 wide receivers.
Yeah.
Miller?
No, I would take Anthony Richardson.
Any tight ends?
One quarterback.
Like
Kincaid Miller?
Kincaid.
Kincaid, sir?
So
It depends on the PPR in the league.
The fact that you're taking Anthony Richardson over Kendrick Miller.
If I'm
You
taking,
argue
if it's
that-
a half point,
That's all I'm confused.
if it's a half, I don't love the landing spot as much as you.
If a quarterback's going off at 107.
You're gonna start a run.
Yeah.
I don't think so. And for Dalton Kincaid, it depends on the tight end PPR.
Yeah.
Because I played a couple just half point PPR, no tight end premium leagues. Dalton Kincaid's not going 107.
Yeah, he's in.
Sure.
So
I can agree with
that
that.
depends on that.
I don't disagree with you, Zach. I think 108 to 9 is probably like my cutoff where I'm still not feeling great, but I think the late first, if you were a championship team last year, I don't know if you have a lot of other help coming, but Anthony Richardson panning out on your bench to possibly upgrade your quarterback later, or be able to flip him for whatever ransom you can get later.
Yeah.
I think that does a heck of a lot more for you. You obviously got to evaluate your quarterback position from there.
Say you're a
and see
good team
which one
and you're
best.
a contending team and you got Kirk Cousins and that's about it.
Yeah.
You should definitely pick up Anthony Richardson.
Look, is there a question between Kendrick Miller and Anthony Richardson? Yes. But I don't think there's a question between Anthony Richardson and any of those 4 first wide receivers. So I think 106 and above is too high. 107, that's up to you.
I think that's where you start having a reasonable consideration that's fair.
Yeah. So 106 and above, too high for Anthony Richardson.
Because the upside in a one quarterback, touched on it, I think yesterday, where in a one quarterback, the investment, on Anthony Richardson at the late first just isn't as significant as it is if he doesn't pan out in the early first on the Superflex. It's just not. It's kind of like, you burn the 111 or 112, but who cares? Like, whereas in a Superflex, you need a quarterback. Like, if Anthony Richardson doesn't pan out, that hurts. But, in one quarterback, the damage from that not happening is much less significant.
For sure. All right, Zach. Sean, what do you got for us next? Sorry, it's from Tyler. He said a quarterback. It's the 104, 108, and 109. Looking Gibbs at the 104. But who should I target at the 8 and 9? Have Kenneth Walker and DK, so not interested in JSN.
Or Zach Charbonnet, I guess.
No, I guess not Zach.
I mean, you can go with Zach Charbonnet if you want your handcuff, but I'd probably be going wide receiver here. We've talked about these wide receivers. We like them. Quentin Johnson, Jordan Addison,
Jonathan
Dave
Mingo.
Flowers.
You could throw
Was it too
Kincaid in
early
there.
for Jonathan Mingo?
It's probably too early for Jonathan Mingo.
You could throw Kincaid in there.
For me. Kincaid?
Yeah.
Depending on your need at tight end and is it a tight end premium league. You could throw Kincaid in the 108, 109 discussion.
They matter.
They do.
They matter.
That's very strange. Very crafty of you.
Okay. So I want to bring this up. So Dalton Kincaid, he got the first round draft capital. He got a great landing spot.
Right.
Do we think that the production of a Sam Laporta or Michael Mayer or Luke Musgrave matches Dalton Kincaid, where it's not worth picking him up in the first because you can pick up those guys in the second for better value?
I think the only one that
Is that drop really that big of a deal?
I think Sam Laporta can match your what you're trying to say there.
I mean,
because
one for Hawkinson, then.
Yeah, I can see how that can work in that matter.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
We'll
you got to
see
keep in
how it
mind,
works.
Hawkinson did not pan out as to the effect that he has with the Vikings on a short season. So I don't know. I don't think it's enough for me. Like what I think those guys will do compared to Kincaid to pass on Kincaid and go for the other guys. I think there's a discussion to be made that where you're just talking plain value, maybe there's a discussion of like what you can get if you say you were to move up to get Dalton Kincaid over just taking Sam Laporta. I think there's a discussion to be had there that what you have to pay to move up might not be worth Dalton Kincaid. But I think drafting 1 for 1 where you are there. So
If you're already there.
Yeah, if you're already there, I think I'm probably taking Kincaid. And there's also no guarantee that you're going to have those guys sitting on the board where you'd have to draft them. So
For me, this is how this pans out. The Bills drafted Dalton Kincaid to be a wide receiver. The Lions and Packers, they're probably going to use, I would say less the Packers because they drafted another tight end. They're going to use those guys to block a little bit. Like the Lions had T.J. Hockenson doing a lot of blocking. He was on the field, but he didn't have a lot of targets or as many route runs as he did when he was in Minnesota. So the ceiling for Dalton Kincaid is significantly higher for me than I can't say for that for Michael Mayer. I think he's a well-rounded tight end, and I think he's going to do some blocking. I think they all have great potential and very high ceilings in terms of tight ends, but the highest ceiling in the best offense, only running routes, is going to be Dalton Kincaid, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, you have to keep in mind, Stephon Diggs after next year is an easy out, and is also getting older.
And this is the last year of Gabe Davis's rookie contract.
We touched on this. Yeah. We touched on this yesterday. Is that you have to expect Stephon Diggs is 30 years old. There is a production dip coming. It might not. It's going to happen. Father Time is undefeated.
It might not be a cliff.
It might not be a cliff. It might be. It's a decline. It's not necessarily going to be a cliff. It might be a cliff. Hamstrings are a thing.
Yeah.
So there's a good chance within 1 or 2 years, Dalton Kincaid is the number one receiver in this offense. And I'm sorry, that's much more valuable than I think the ceilings of and even the floor comparison. I think that's far more valuable than anything you're getting out of Sam Laporta or any other tight end in this class. I would argue that Michael Mayer still has very good potential because Adams is the same case as Diggs.
Yeah.
And nobody else in that offense is going to garner a target share like Michael Mayer can.
Agreed. So, Sean, you said that we have, so this is from Cole, and thoughts on Sean Payton, taking Mims with his first pick as a Broncos head coach.
I love it.
Love this pick.
Wide receiver 2 in the team.
Yeah.
I do believe that
We're
a lot
hearing
of
that
people comped
Sutton
him to
could be
Brandon
on the-
Cooks. I'm pretty sure.
I did.
Yeah, that was you.
Yeah, that's great. And I love that comp as
Convenient.
well. I think they were showing some highlights, obviously, after he got drafted, and just his body control when the ball in the air is just uncanny. I mean, I'm just thinking about moving my body like that, and I'm going to crack like explosive. It's not going to happen for this guy right here. I love this pick. Sean Payton, I think he's going to bring a culture change that the Denver Broncos desperately need. We heard about Russ had like his personal coach there last year.
Yeah.
And shame on Nathaniel Hackett for letting that happen, honestly.
I mean,
It's
the thing is, it's a first-year coach. I get it. It's obviously an issue, but
Yeah,
like
it's to me, if I'm a first-year coach, I'm gonna say, sorry, Russ, you can get your personal coaching at home.
I'm sorry, first-year coach trying to coach a possible future Hall of Fame quarterback, Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl champion. I'm sorry. Forgive me for understanding the rollover that a first-year coach is going to have. I get it. I do. I get the old white approach there, but I'm just.
So he's going with ageism. Now we're going with racism. It's just really all the isms today. So,
What else we got?
Sean, we're going to take a pause here, and we're going to talk about some other just things that happened. Let's talk about round 3 a little bit. Some guys that we haven't mentioned yet. Tank Dell goes at number 69 to the Texans.
Before Josh Downs.
Cedric Tillman goes at 74 to Tennessee.
The Browns.
There you
Which
go.
Which is an interesting one because
He played at Tennessee.
he plays the same exact position as Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Now, DPJ is on the last year's contract. So what this tells me is Tillman is probably not going to have a lot of production this year. He'll get on the field, but they also trade for Elijah Moore.
Right.
So right now, Tillman's the wide receiver 4 on this team, but he is the replacement for DPJ when he leaves after this year.
Right. Unless
he's not
unless DBJ just plays outrageous this year.
Well, then they don't pay him, and they
Yeah,
let him
that's
walk.
true.
That's true.
I think they probably set it in stone. They're already paying Cooper a lot of money.
I do think Tillman will have some kind of a role in this offense. They definitely, once Deshaun got back, threw the ball a whole heck of a lot more than they were running the ball. They didn't bring
They
back
said they're going to run
Kareem Hunt. They haven't brought in another running
Mhm.
back. So, I do think that there is a role. I mean, it's
But
probably
you don't
wide
feel
receiver
for
3,
sure.
wide receiver 4.
Yeah.
And then I probably agree with you. Like that. With Deshaun's contract continuing to balloon, there's less money to go around to
Yeah.
players like a DPJ who's
And
going to be a free agent.
Talking money too. I know Amari Cooper's not necessarily the same role.
Yeah, so I'm looking at it.
But I mean, no real outs, but there's no guaranteed money after 2024.
Yeah.
So they could cut him at pretty cheap cost.
Yeah, but-
And the thing is too, restructures. Restructures are a thing that's happening, and that could happen where, Keenan Allen was supposed to get a good bit of money, I think, for the next few years, and they restructured him. Now he's an easy out after this year. So, I mean, I think that's something to heavily consider too, that, while it's not necessarily the same role, it's still going to be targets going somewhere else.
So a couple other guys that we haven't really mentioned, but getting day two draft capital. Michael Wilson from Stanford goes to the Arizona Cardinals.
Love it.
Trey Tucker from Cincinnati,
Hate
pick 100, goes to the Las Vegas Raiders. A very Raiders pick, but I don't like it either. And then Cameron Latu going after the first kicker off the board. Day 2 kicker. Kickers matter too. He goes to the San Francisco 49ers. So there you go. George Kittle is now blocking tight end. The dynamic Cameron Latu pencils in as the receiving tight end.
Michael Wilson is an interesting, I think, 3rd round pick maybe.
I love.
Yeah.
I like.
Consider-
Michael
I mean,
Wilson.
like,
I don't know if he might not make it to the 3rd round in rookie drafts. You're saying?
Well,
D-Hop leaves.
at that
I don't even. Well, I think that's a foregone.
At that point, what I'm doing is I don't think there's going to be a lot of Michael Wilson production this year because Kyler's going to be missing. Like, wait the first 4 weeks.
My
And buy,
concern
that's
with
what a lot of people do
Michael
with
Wilson,
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Mhm.
back-to-back years, Michael Wilson has had a season-ending injury.
Yeah,
I'm a
I'm
little
concerned.
worried about Michael Wilson than anything else.
I'm saying a 3rd round pick,
Sure.
worth a flyer.
Yeah,
I
he's
agree
yeah,
with that.
agreed.
Completely agree with that. Like
On the 3rd round
I've
pick.
said,
I like what I said
before,
before.
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you're drafting starters in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round of your rookie draft, if you're looking at these guys need to start on my team right now, you're doing something wrong.
You're rebuilding.
These guys should be guys for depth.
Yeah.
That's one way to think about it. But 3rd round pick, I don't
Yeah.
hate that at all. I don't know about you guys, but I'm kind of off of Tank Dell. I mean, I understand he stays in Houston. They like him to take him 69th overall, but I'm just going to say I'm good.
Yeah. Oh, I just think it's a travesty that he went before Josh Downs. Like, if you're going to draft a good, small slot wide receiver.
Charlie Jones.
Also, yes.
But not limited to slot. Probably can play outside too.
True. That's a good
And
point.
then we want to talk about a slot wide receiver. Who do you think would be better long term? This is just honesty. Trey Tucker or Tank Dell? I mean, Trey Tucker, we're talking about a 96% stat percentage in the slot.
I like
Sources,
Tank Dell.
per sources. You like Tank
You know,
Dell?
I know he's small, but he was productive.
I loved his game.
Yeah, I
The
love his game
only-
too.
He was
the
pretty
only
tough,
real
too.
knock I had on Dell was his size.
Mhm.
Other than that, I loved his game. I thought he's a great player. But, you know, the size, I mean, you're asking him and Josh Downs for that matter to be tremendous outliers, which I think when you have the skills they do is possible. Like, I think it's much more likely than guys like Tyquan Thornton, guys like Jalen Hyatt, you know, even though
Dallas
Jalen,
Jones.
sure. You know, guys that are just significantly smaller. I think Jalen Hyatt has a decent path to performing in the NFL. That's very for your fantasy team because
Good
he is,
best ball player.
he is, yeah,
Yeah.
because he is so elite at one thing. But these both Dell and Josh Downs, incredible, just all around wide receivers that play bigger than their size. Josh Downs especially. So I mean, I don't know if I'm out. It's going to depend on where I have to draft him. If I'm getting him top of the 3rd, I'm probably happy taking a swing.
Mhm.
But I'm not excited about it.
The thing with Tank is he's in an open wide receiver room, but also at the same time he's not.
Mhm.
Because he's got Robert Woods in front of him. He's got John Mechie in front of him. He's got
By
Nico
John
Collins
Mechie.
in front of him.
He's a wide receiver
By
3
John
surrounded by wide receiver 2s.
Yeah.
Maybe a wide receiver 4 surrounded by wide receiver 3s.
Maybe.
I'm
and a
rolling
half.
on John
Yeah.
Mechie, by the way.
2.5 to 3
For the
inches.
record.
For sure.
I like Mechie, but
I'm glad he's back
you
too.
just
Nice
don't know.
healthy.
You don't know if he's
Excited
going to
to
be
see
the
him
same
play.
guy.
Am I the only person that has not liked what the Texans have done outside of CJ Stroud?
I love Will Anderson.
They traded a future 1st round pick,
But they got
which is their
full force.
own. And look at their offense. Like, this is not going to be a good offense this year. Is that going to be a top 10 pick next year that they traded to get Will Anderson? Plus, they traded pick number 33. Like, I don't love that move. They're not going to be able to surround CJ Stroud with a top 15 pick next year. They have another 1st round pick. It's Cleveland's.
Mhm.
But I think that their own 1st round pick is probably another top 10 pick next
You
year.
could have Marvin Harrison.
I'm going to say
Could you
this.
imagine?
with CJ
That would
Stroud.
be beautiful.
I don't think
Yeah.
The
that
prophecy
the Browns
is late.
pick is going to be bad next year. I think the Browns pick is going to be pretty high. I don't think the Browns are going to be good.
I don't think it'll be
I
a
think
top
the
10
Browns
pick.
are the last place team in the NFC.
I don't think
AFC
it's a
North,
top 10
and
pick.
I hope they are.
And I think Houston's pick with this offense that they're building is a top 10 pick next year.
Could be. Yeah,
I think so too. I agree.
This is not a good
I
offense.
agree with Zach.
You saw it live.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're pushing about 15 minutes left in the live stream. So I'm going to go around to each of you guys. And I just want to say, any predictions for day 3, any prime landing spots? Zach, I'm staring directly at you. Do you need a minute?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why don't you tell us how grateful you are?
Right.
You can start here. If you want.
Oh, sure.
You want me to start with you or Bob?
I would love to.
Okay,
Yeah,
we're going to start with you. Let's start
All
with
right. So some of my favorite players still on the board. Let me pull up I like Sean Tucker. I really want to see where Sean Tucker goes.
Right.
Now open spots for Sean Tucker.
There's still a handful. I mean,
There's running backs needy teams that didn't pick running backs,
which
I would like to see him go to. I think Dallas would be a great one.
No, I think that's my top pick.
Minnesota
would be a great one because I think Sean Tucker. A lot of people have pigeonholed him into a receiving back when he's not a receiving back.
Mm-hmm.
He is a good runner. He's a decent receiver, and he's got that long speed. So he's not. He's. I understand why he's a 4th round pick, especially with the medical. I think he could have been like a fringe 3rd round pick. But as we've been talking about, those 4th round running backs, we might be okay with them for a year or two.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Sean Tucker, to one of those RB needy spots, you would know right away he's going to get playtime this year.
Right.
As long as that medical concern is not
That's clear.
As long as he can play football, he would get opportunity.
Right, and
I'll take that.
I'll go next because that's my guy too, is Sean Tucker. Like if he goes to somewhere like Dallas or Philadelphia, I would absolutely love it because he fits perfect, and he doesn't have to take the full workload. In Dallas, he has Pollard, and the Eagles, he doesn't have to do 3rd down. He can be our 1st and 2nd down.
Or we were talking about Roshan and Philly in the 6th. If Sean Tucker's there, Sean Tucker makes more sense to me in Philadelphia than Roshan.
It makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
The guy is explosive, and he's a really good runner between tackles. He's ridiculous, to be honest. But when he has to deal with his heart and all that other stuff, I understand why he fell. But if the talent is there, he's ridiculous. He's number 1 on my board for today.
Okay. I think since we're on the topic of running backs, that's where I'm going to. But I think I'm worried less about the running backs and more about where they're going.
Mm-hmm.
Pay very close attention to these running back needy teams that still need running backs. I think that's a good reason. Part of the reason why running backs have fallen is because there's not a handful of teams that really need running backs. And the market, again, we talked about it earlier, the market is so oversaturated that why draft them when nobody else is? That's kind of the theme of the draft so far. Why draft them when nobody else is? Well, Jacksonville and Seattle did not get that memo, I guess. Lost it in the mail.
Yeah.
Lost it in the draft smoke. But
you got to check your spam mailbox preferences, Jackson.
But pay very close attention to where these running backs are going, even if you don't necessarily like the running back. The landing spot and opportunity might make up for that a little bit. And I think you need to be a little more open-minded on some of these guys. Like, there's plenty of running backs I don't like. Dwayne McBride is a prime example.
How dare you?
I think he's my he's my 2nd lowest rating running back ahead of Kenny McIntosh. But those are 2 guys that you just need to pay attention to where they're going. Be mindful of the spots that have openings, guys that are, losing time on contracts, are getting older. Just, Arizona, both Los Angeles teams, Philly, I guess, Minnesota. You got, it was Miami. There's definitely one I'm missing there. I think Buffalo is fairly wide open too. They got Damian Harris and James Cook.
Yeah. It's just another muddied situation, just like the
Especially
Patriots.
The thing is, here's the thing. With day 3 running backs, you need ambiguity. You need ambiguous backfields that don't have a clear-cut person. And then you invest on somebody, you take your shot. Maybe that's a point where you invest in the player you like out of that grouping.
Just draft a wide receiver.
But
or a tight end.
But at this point, Charlie Jones is left, and so is Xavier Richardson. But I'm going to be paying very close attention to the running backs that go today and where they go more specifically. I think that's something to keep possibly more in mind than anything else.
Zach, before we get to you, just real quick, we just got
HR.
Quick update. Chev says if we're doing live draft stuff next year, he's going to be here. He's loving everything. Chev, we love you and miss you.
We don't know if we're going to be here, so
we might not be somewhere. We have to go somewhere that I could drive.
We'll go to Chev's
recording equipment. Somewhere I can drive.
You can drive. You just don't want to.
Yeah, sorry, I don't want to drive too.
That's the same thing as there's only one A.T. Perry in this room.
Month-long road trip of it.
Yes, I have so much.
We'll get a tour bus, all of us.
Yeah.
I'm in with that. But Zach, what do you got for me?
All right, so let me read you this list here real quick and then I'll explain. Josh Dobbs, Gardner Minshew, Andy Dalton, Sam Darnold, Nick Foles, David Blau, Teddy Bridgewater. Those are all starting quarterbacks in Week 17 last year, which was your fantasy championship playoffs. So we're talking about this. I totally agree with what Bob said. If you can trade your 3rd, 4th, 5th for future picks, great. But I would take a stab at some of these backup quarterbacks that are going to land in spots today because we saw 64 starting quarterbacks last year.
I picked up Brock Purdy off waivers last year.
And flipped him to me.
And flipped him to you for cheap for multiple
Fab.
thirds.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, he's already worth more. Like I said, he would be.
Yeah.
I told you I was getting
Right.
scalped.
But my point is, let's watch where some of these quarterbacks land today. We haven't really talked about the quarterbacks on this channel, and for good reason. They're not going to be starters, but there are interesting backup spots available and necessary. And there are some like Jake Hayner, Jaron Hall, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, Clayton Tune, Stetson Bennett. There are some quarterbacks that are very interesting in terms of where they're going to land. And you do need to, if you have to spend those 4th and 5th round picks somewhere, why not do it on a quarterback, especially in a super flex league, as long as your rosters are deep. So you saw that list of names I read. Those are starting quarterbacks in your fantasy championship week last year.
Yep.
I will say this, as per Stetson Bennett, I looked at a picture of him yesterday. He looks older than me. So I'm off of him.
Because he is.
Just a couple of guys that I'm interested in. Would love to see where Xavier Hutchinson goes. Kind of hoping for the Giants because screw Isaiah Hodgins, right?
Still could.
I
for the Falcons.
just want Charlie Jones to just be in the NFL. That's all I want. My questions, I'm just curious to see where Keyshawn Boutte and Zack Evans go. I don't really have a prime landing spot. I'm just curious at this point.
That would be something.
A couple other guys I'm looking forward to just seeing where they go. Will Mallory from Miami, Chase Brown from Illinois, and I kind of want Eric Gray to go to Dallas. I think would be a good fit. But Sean, we have a couple other questions before we head out. So this is from Michael. And this is an 8-team Superflex 10 start, the 102 and 105. Who should I draft with the 102? Quarterbacks are Justin Herbert and Justin Fields. Running backs are Kenneth Walker, Dalvin Cook, and DeAndre Swift. Wide receiver, Waddle, Judy, and DJ Moore. And you got Pitts and Dulcich. The tight end spot.
This is why I'm saying that we just need to stop caring about running backs in general because Walker, D. Cook, and Swift, you're like, that's a good running back core. And now you're like, that sucks.
So that's right.
Yeah. And oddly enough, I think you go Gibbs.
Gibbs and
With-
2.
Because it's an 18. Quarterbacks aren't as scarce, even though it's a super flex.
Yeah, I
Quarterbacks
agree.
just aren't as scarce. I think the positional players gain a lot more value here. I think if you walk away with Jason Gibbs, wouldn't hate it. But I do think I wouldn't hate taking a quarterback at 105, whatever's there.
You could push down one of those quarterbacks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is a great time to do that because I think Gibbs is probably the pick for me.
At 102.
At 102, and
And
then
whatever
whatever quarterback.
And then 105, you could pick up a quarterback.
If you
pick up
hate
Jordan
that
Addison.
quarterback,
Try and sell to 106.
Yeah.
See if 106 wants to move to 105 to get that quarterback.
Sure.
Jason.
Yeah. And you just pick up a 24-second or something.
Yeah.
You know?
Don't go crazy. You don't want to pick anyway.
Sean? So this is from Brady. I have picked 104 in a one-quarterback dynasty league. I'm hurting at quarterback, so I'm curious if picking Richardson is a bad move at 104. What do you think? Also, I have picks 201, 206, and 207. I'd rather take a quarterback at the 201 than the 104
Don't force it.
quarterback league. Force that quarterback down the board to you, Zach.
That's not quite how that works, but I would look to see if I can move up from 201 possibly, or even the 206 to jump my own 201. Because I think I'd be targeting. I think Richardson is a great pick in this league, but I think I'd be looking to pick him later than 104 or trade back.
I think in this situation, it's like just whatever quarterbacks are around the 206, 207. You're going to be able to pick up Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. I don't think you need to reach for Richardson.
Don't reach. Don't reach on quarterbacks.
He might be there at 201.
I don't think I want to move up either. I got 3 quarterbacks I can pick from.
I guess especially if you want a quarterback that's going to be, possibly more reliable this year.
Yeah,
I think Bryce Young and CJ Stroud they'll be there in the second round.
Yeah.
I don't know that Richardson will be.
I agree with Nate. Stay put at 104. Do not take a quarterback, and then who's ever there at 201, take a quarterback.
Or if there's 3 quarterbacks at 201, pick up a quarterback at 206, 207. Like, don't force it.
Don't force it. So, Christian wants to know how far does Dawson Knox
Portman.
drop?
No,
Portman
this
came to this.
is me. You can't kill what's already dead.
Oh, wow.
Come on, man.
See, we should have let Portman go first.
I don't want to talk about him.
Portman, I just wanted to know that the show account tweeted at you
I
on
know, I
Friday
saw
night
it.
and never heard
I
back.
fell asleep.
Hey, Port, I'm gonna get HR on this for you. I'm not letting you talk.
Please. His value does drop, obviously, with Kincaid, but he didn't play that well last year, to be honest. And the year before, he did do well, and his value did go up. And Bob said trade him, and in this case, he was right. So
in this case.
Bravo in this case.
There's a large case file.
I can attest that admitting Bob is right. That's still kind of
Unless,
gross.
no,
but he does happen to be right.
Yeah, in this case, he was right.
I just want to point out that yes, Bob was right. There were things
So was
that
Nate.
happened in Dawson Knox's personal, like
Yeah,
was Nate.
there was a
that
lot
is
happening
okay.
to Dawson Knox last year.
Yeah.
A lot.
I do it, and I
That's
do
not
agree with
fantasy
that.
relevant. That does have to do with
Yeah.
my value.
Right, that is a true story.
Sean, what do we got? Anything else?
This is from before. He's going to keep us
Oh, good.
updated.
Thank you,
so
DJ
we'll get
Doles.
Feeling spiteful.
Wait,
Yes.
hold on. DJJ Doug, if you're not on the Patreon,
It's my
Like,
guy.
Oh,
come on.
please.
you have to be a patron. It's $10 for the entire year, and you can update us on the story at any time.
Yeah.
I need you on the Patreon.
If you are,
Damn.
I will be your personal friend.
Dude, if you sign up for Patreon right now, Zach is gonna fly you
I
down
think
to
he just-
Florida
I
to
think
hang out
Zach
with
just-
him.
Let's go.
After that, he just
For a
said he
month.
And train.
I will be your personal friend.
Do you like
Zach, we want people to sign up.
Right.
J-Dub,
Don't be
It
weird.
could be a patron tier.
We
That's
pay
so
$50. Zach,
$50 a month.
J-Dub,
That's how we
do
buy
you
friends for
like
Zach.
Chipotle? Because if so, Zach is your guy. So do we have anything
We have
else?
someone on the clock.
Someone on the clock.
All right, so
16,
this is
16.
important.
Man.
Jonathan is on the clock in a 16-team PPR league with pick 114. All three of the top quarterbacks are available. My pick after that is 211.
So this is one quarterback.
One quarterback.
Yeah.
But the 16 man, so quarterbacks are valuable in this
I
league.
agree.
You need a second quarterback.
Yeah.
There's a good second quarterback.
Yeah, I think Richardson's a swing for me here, depending on what else is on the board.
If you have your quarterback one already and it's a good quarterback, then I think the Anthony Richardson swing is a good one. If you have a quarterback who's either aging or not as locked in as your quarterback one, I think they're a good Bryce Young or CJ Stroud.
Right.
I do need to do an update. There has been some breaking news. There has been a third trade before the draft day today.
Okay.
You've only heard
The
about
Saints,
one so
the
far.
Saints moved up to 104. The Raiders moved up to 109, and the Eagles moved up to 105.
Let's go. Twing Pride season, baby. It's happening right
I bet
before your
one of
eyes.
4 of
Is
us?
he
105.
Is he?
Hey.
3
The draft pick.
4
Oh,
Howie Roseman does things to me. Sean, do we have
Oh,
anything,
wow.
any other questions here for me? We've got two more. Yeah, just take your time, Sean. We're not on the clock right now.
No,
Jonathan's on the clock.
4 minutes.
Sean needs a camera on him.
All right, so I'm sorry, I don't know how to say your name, but would it make sense to try and move Walker, or is it too late?
I
not
think-
move
Don't move
I-
Walker.
it's
Not
too late.
Let's not make
It's too late to move him at good value.
It's a whole no.
I think this is a good lesson overall
Just
in
don't
fantasy
overreact.
football. Don't panic, buy or sell players.
Yep.
Okay, sometimes you just need to let the fallout happen and see where everything lies. That does not apply to nuclear wars, but in fantasy.
Remember, it is the end of April.
Yes.
We have plenty of time
Zach
to see
said it
how
was
this all
May
goes.
yesterday, so I don't know what to
Yeah.
tell you.
Well, and
It's
this,
gonna be
Seattle draft's
this
crazy
is-
all the time anyway.
this is a situation where we need to see how it happens in season. There's
Yes.
there's no
I
play
agree.
out with this like there would be with, like, let's say the DeAndre Swift situation. Like, we're not going to get any clarification because I think Swift probably moves before the season.
He's moving.
I think that's fair to say, but yeah, I agree with Nate. I would say don't panic.
All right, so if you're a Walker owner, are you targeting Charbonnet?
Yep.
Lock up that backfield and just deal with it until someone
Just
inevitably
don't
gets picked up. Yeah, I agree, Pork. That don't reach for a handcuff. Like if you're, I'm not.
I don't think he's a handcuff. I think he's going to get plenty of
I
his
think he's
own
more than a
run.
handcuff.
I think what we've gotten out of AJ Dillon is
Yeah.
similar to what you should expect out of Zach Charbonnet at this point.
I think so.
I think you get more out of Charbonnet sooner, just because I think that offense is
And
probably
receiving ability.
and has a little bit better receiving ability. Although I think AJ Dillon is underrated, but I don't think saying that he's a handcuff is a little disrespectful. And I just think it's devaluing the player that much more. But I think a lot of people are going to have that mindset where you still don't have to reach on a guy. But I don't think the handcuff expectation is what you want. I think he should be on your board to maybe pick him take him a few picks earlier than you would normally. Well, not normally, but
I like Charbonnet like early second.
I'm okay with
I
that.
think that's a good value to
I
pick
think
him up
because-
because he's still talented. Very
And
talented.
he does double as a handcuff,
Yeah.
you know, and you get the handcuff both ways. You know, if Walker's down, if Sharp is down, you got both pieces. You know, I think this could be, you know, the high end of this is probably the Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram situation. The low end of this is Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon.
Either way, You're not going to be super disappointed. So I'll tell you what, we got a minute till the draft starts, and I just want to say thank you to everybody that tuned in today. We really appreciate it. We're going to be back again tomorrow, same bad time, same bad channel. We'll say that. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. We're just going to be doing a mock. We're going to be doing a draft. So again, fire the questions away. Super chats are always taking priority. And if you want even, yes, thank you, Bob. If you want even more priority, you can just hit us up. Right down at the bottom there, patreon.com/Dynasty Rewind. There's 3 amazing tiers. Check out the $5 and $10 tier as well. You get bonus podcasts from me, my man Nate Christian, every week. Sometimes I do solo pods. Zach's got his own show on there too.
And I'll be a personal friend.
It's called Zach's Attack, but I might change that to the Bald Dome of Dynasty.
Whatever you
What
want.
do you think
You're
about
the
that?
boss. I have no problem with that.
That is right.
Make sure to be balls.
What'd you say I am?
You're the boss.
That's right. So
You got that dog in you.
Oh,
Dude, I got that. So do you happy day
Shiver.
3 of the draft, everybody, where me and Nate's favorite players get drafted. We'll see you tomorrow. Until then, be kind. Please rewind. Thanks for watching. Take me out of here.
Thanks for listening to the Dynasty Rewind. Please make sure you subscribe, rate, and review. And as always, be kind, please rewind.